Believing the world was flat and why it mattered. Imagine, for a moment, living in a time when the edge of the known world was a real, terrifying place. People genuinely believed the Earth was flat, like a giant pancake floating in space. For centuries, this idea held strong in many minds. It wasn't just a simple geography mistake. It was a deeply felt conviction, a whole way of seeing the universe. Think about it. If the world is flat, what happens when you reach the end? You might fall off, right? This fear, this boundary, stopped human progress. So, here's the thing. This wasn't just a quirky belief. It stopped people. It kept ships close to shore, limiting discovery. It made folks scared to wander too far from home. It shaped how they thought about what was possible. It told them, there's only so much to see, only so much to know. This incorrect idea had heavy consequences for generations. It's a bit like believing you're bad at math, so you never try a hard problem, or you think you can't draw, so you never pick up a pencil. That belief, even if not true, keeps you from trying new things, from learning. The flat Earth idea was like that, but for an entire civilization. It limited their courage, curiosity, and drive to explore, and that's why it matters. Understanding Earth as a sphere wasn't just a cool science fact. It cracked open the world. It showed us that what we think is true can hold us back, but questioning it can set us free. It reminds us to always look closer, to ask questions, and to never let an old idea stop us from seeing what truly lies beyond. Big discoveries often start by challenging what everyone knows. The idea that kings were chosen by God. Have you ever thought about why some people have so much power and others have so little? Imagine a world where one person could rule absolutely, and everyone just accepted it because they believed this ruler was picked directly by God. That's the core of a very old idea called the divine right of kings. Here's the thing. For a long time, in many parts of history, kings claimed their power didn't come from people or armies, but from God himself. This meant their decisions were God's will. It made challenging a king incredibly dangerous, almost like challenging God. If a king made cruel laws or caused his people to suffer, it was hard to argue against him without being seen as going against a divine plan. This belief locked societies into a rigid structure where ordinary people had little say and even less hope for change. It felt like destiny, not choice. Think about a school club. Imagine if one student simply declared they were the president and said, I was chosen by a higher power to lead this club. My word is final, and you can't question me. Even if their ideas weren't good, or they treated people unfairly, you'd be told it was wrong to object. How would that feel? You'd probably want to ask questions. You'd want to talk about what's fair and what really helps the club. This old idea that a leader's power came directly from above kept millions of people from asking those crucial questions. It allowed bad leadership to continue, sometimes for centuries, because it discouraged anyone from even thinking about other ways to govern. It's a quiet reminder of how important it is to think for ourselves, to question power gently but firmly, and to remember that true leadership often comes from serving others, not just being chosen by some unseen force. It teaches us to value human wisdom and shared responsibility in making our world a better place. When superstition stopped science, have you ever wondered why we sometimes believe things even when there's no real proof? Maybe a lucky jersey for a big game, or avoiding walking under a ladder. That's kind of how superstition works. It's when we trust feelings or old stories more than facts, or careful thinking. Here's the thing, for a long time, this kind of thinking actually stopped people from finding out how the world really worked. Imagine a time when people thought illnesses were curses, or that the stars directly controlled everything in their lives, not just the tides. When a strange comet appeared, they didn't see a natural event. They saw a bad omen, a sign of disaster. This wasn't just a simple mistake. It was a deep, emotional way of looking at the world that made it scary to ask why or how. If you believed a witch caused a fever, you wouldn't look for a germ. You'd look for the witch. This emotional fear, this comfort in old beliefs, kept important discoveries locked away for centuries. Think about it like this. If you truly believed your phone only worked because a tiny magic pixie lived inside it, would you ever try to understand how electricity or computer chips work? Probably not. You'd just thank the pixie. That's what happened with science. People felt safe with their stories, even if those stories meant they couldn't cure diseases or figure out how planets moved. It was a choice, often unspoken, between the comfort of knowing a simple but wrong answer and the scary, hard work of finding a complex but true one. It's a powerful lesson. When we let fear or easy answers guide us, we might miss out on incredible truths. The world around us is full of wonders, waiting to be understood, but only if we're brave enough to question the old tales and look for ourselves. It takes courage to choose curiosity over comfort, and that choice can truly change everything. Thinking some people were just born slaves can. You imagine truly believing that some people are just born to be less than others, not because of what they did or what happened to them, but simply because of who they are, from the very moment they enter the world. For a long, long time in human history, this was a common, terrible idea. Smart thinkers, even famous philosophers like Aristotle from ancient Greece, sometimes held this view. They thought some individuals were naturally meant to serve, like tools, never truly capable of their own big thoughts or dreams. This wasn't about someone losing a war or falling into debt. It was a belief about their very nature. And that's why societies, for thousands of years, had systems where entire groups of people were treated as property, their lives decided for them from birth. Here's the thing. It's a bit like looking at a tiny seed and saying, this particular seed is only meant to grow into a small, dull plant, no matter how rich the soil, how much sun it gets, or how carefully it's watered. We know that's not how nature works. Every seed, every plant, has the amazing potential for growth, for beauty, for life, if given the right chance. What it becomes depends a lot on its environment and care, not just its starting point, right? And that's why this old way of thinking was such a profound error. It denied the basic truth that every human being, no matter where they are born or what their circumstances, carries within them a full, amazing universe of potential, just waiting to unfold. To decide someone's worth or their destiny before they've even lived is to miss out on all the incredible things they could have become. It's a sad thought. To imagine how much brilliance, how much kindness, how many great ideas, how much joy were lost to the world simply because someone believed a person wasn't born for it. This error reminds us to always look deeper, to see the full, vibrant possibility in everyone we meet, always, and to protect that spark in every single heart. The dangerous lie of original sin. Have you ever felt like you were just wrong, like there was something inside you, a little bit broken, even when you tried your best to be good? For a very long time, many people were taught something called original sin. This idea claimed that every single person born into the world carried a flaw, a deep-seated guilt, passed down from the very first humans who ever made a mistake. It wasn't about what you did, but what they did. Way back when. Imagine being born into a family where, hundreds of years ago, a distant relative accidentally broke a priceless family vase, and because of that, every new baby in the family, including you, automatically started life with a mark against their name. You didn't even exist when it happened. You didn't touch the vase, but you're still seen as having this inherited flaw. That's kind of what original sin felt like for many. This belief shaped how civilizations saw themselves. It whispered that humans were fundamentally damaged, needing constant fixing or saving. It made people doubt their own goodness and believe their natural desires were always suspect. It created a heavy shadow, suggesting that our very nature was something to be ashamed of. But here's the thing. Thinking this way can be truly dangerous. It stops us from seeing the incredible potential for kindness, bravery, and brilliance that lives in every human heart. It ignores the fact that we are born with curiosity, with the capacity for love, and with the freedom to choose right from wrong every single day. We aren't just echoes of ancient mistakes. We are new stories, waiting to be written. Our journey isn't about escaping some inherited guilt, but about discovering the powerful good we can create in the world, starting fresh, right now. Why the Earth wasn't the center and the fight over it. Have you ever felt like you're the most important person in your own story? Like everything around you is, in some way, about you? For a long time, people felt that way about our planet, Earth. This idea shaped everything. They believed Earth sat still, grand, and every star, moon, and sun spun around us. This was a comforting idea. It placed humanity at the heart of the universe, a special creation. But here's the thing. This wasn't true. It was a powerful idea, but also a mistake. Imagine looking up at the night sky, seeing all those lights move. It truly looks like they're circling us, doesn't it? For centuries, smart thinkers built ways of understanding the world on this belief. It felt right. Questioning it felt like challenging something sacred. Then, people like Copernicus and later Galileo, using careful observation and math, saw a different picture, a much bigger, more humbling one. They suggested Earth wasn't the center. Instead, we, along with other planets, gracefully orbited the sun. This was a huge shock. Think about realizing your best friend has other friends you didn't know about, and their life doesn't just revolve around you. It's a moment of shifting perspective. People didn't accept this new idea. This wasn't just about planets. It was about where humans fit. If Earth wasn't the center, did that mean we weren't as special? The fight was deep and emotional. It changed everything they thought they knew about their place. It felt like losing importance, but accepting this truth, that we are one planet among many, quietly circling a star, actually opened up new wonders. It taught us a profound lesson. Sometimes, letting go of what we want to believe, even if it feels good, and embracing what is truly real, can lead to a deeper understanding of our universe and ourselves. Our significance comes not from being the center, but from being part of something so endlessly vast and beautiful. The thought that women were not equal imagined a world where half the people were seen as less important, just because of who they were. For a very long time, many societies truly believed that women were simply not as capable as men, not as smart, strong, or fit to lead. This wasn't just a casual thought. It was a deep belief. It was built into laws, dictating what women could and couldn't do. It was in schools, often limiting what girls could learn. And it even shaped how people talked about families and roles within them. Wise thinkers, even famous philosophers, sometimes reinforced this idea. They argued that women's minds were different, perhaps less rational, and best suited for roles within the home, like caring for children and managing a household. These beliefs weren't based on scientific facts or real evidence of what women could achieve, but on old traditions and what people thought was natural. This deep-seated error meant women were often denied education, kept from owning businesses, or having a voice in government. Think about it like this. Imagine your school decided that everyone born in an even-numbered month couldn't be class president, or couldn't play on the main sports team, even if they were the most talented player, and the reason given was just, that's how it's always been. Or people born in even months just aren't good at that. You'd know that's wrong, right? You'd feel that deep unfairness. This thought about women was like that, but it lasted for centuries, blocking so many brilliant minds from sharing their gifts with the world. It stopped countless potential scientists, artists, doctors, and leaders from ever even trying, simply because they were born female. Here's the thing, this wasn't just about limiting women, it limited all of humanity. Think of all the inventions not made, the diseases not cured, the inspiring stories not told, and the solutions not found, all because half of the population was told their ideas didn't matter, or that their intelligence was somehow lesser. This shows how deeply wrong ideas can hold entire civilizations back, and it reminds us to always question what we're told, especially when beliefs limit someone's dreams because of who they are. When logic ignored real life. Ever had a plan that seemed perfect in your head? You wrote it all down, it made so much sense, but then you tried it, and nothing went right. That's a bit like logic ignoring real life. For ages, smart people thought they could figure out the world just by thinking. They built amazing ideas, perfect systems in their minds, everything fitting neatly, like a puzzle. Ancient Greek thinkers, for example, believed pure thought could show the world's true way, and their logic was brilliant. But here's the thing, the real world isn't always neat. It's messy, full of surprises, feelings, things that don't follow rules. Think about a scientist designing an experiment in a clean lab. Everything's controlled, precise, results are clear. But then they try that same experiment in nature, in a forest or city. Suddenly, a million things they didn't account for appear: weather, other animals, unexpected people. The lab's perfect logic doesn't quite fit the wild reality outside it. Or, imagine planning your whole Saturday, homework, video games, friends, great on paper, but then your brother gets sick, or a friend calls with an emergency, or you just feel tired. The world, with its emotions and sudden changes, steps in. Your perfect plan bends and breaks. This can help you see something important. Logic isn't bad. It helps us think clearly. But sometimes, we love our clever ideas so much, we forget to look around. We forget the world is alive, breathing, full of things we can't predict with simple thought. It teaches us to be humble, to listen to what reality is telling us, even when it's messy, because the real truth, the deep truth, lives out there, beyond our perfect thoughts. The big idea that gold meant all wealth. Have you ever stopped to think about what wealth truly means? For a long time, people across the world held on to one powerful idea, that gold and silver were the only things that mattered. It was like they believed these shiny metals were wealth itself, not just a way to measure it. Imagine a king who believed the more gold bars he had, the richer his country was. This wasn't just a mistake, it was a deep belief that shaped nations. Here's the thing. People thought if a country had lots of gold, it was powerful. If it didn't, it was weak. So, countries worked hard to get gold and keep it. They fought wars and made strict rules about trade. The goal was always the same: get more gold in, let less gold out. It was a grand obsession to pile up the glittering stuff. This meant real resources, like fertile land or skilled workers, got less attention than the shiny rock dot. Think about it like this. Imagine you collect trading cards. There's one super rare, extra shiny card everyone wants. You might think having a huge stack of just those shiny cards makes you the richest collector. But what if you ignored all the other fun parts? Never played, never traded for strategy building cards, or never saw the cool artwork on common cards? You'd have a lot of shiny cardboard, but you wouldn't really be enjoying the full experience of collecting. And that's why it matters. This mistaken belief about gold showed us something important. True wealth isn't just one single thing you can hold. It's a mix of so much more: healthy people, good ideas, fresh food, clean water, and the ability to live a happy life. When we fixate on just one symbol of value, like gold, we risk losing sight of the deeper, richer treasures all around us. It reminds us to look beyond the shine and see what truly helps people thrive. Believing we knew everything already. Have you ever stopped searching for something because you were sure it wasn't there? What if whole groups of people, or even whole civilizations, did that with ideas? This is one of the biggest mistakes we can make, believing we already know everything important. It's like closing the book right when the best part is about to begin. When people think they have all the answers, they stop asking questions. And when we stop asking questions, we stop learning, we stop growing. Here's the thing. For a very long time, people believed the Earth was the center of the universe. The sun, the stars, everything moved around us. It felt right, and it seemed obvious. So, for thousands of years, that's what everyone knew. They built entire ways of thinking and seeing the world based on this idea. But then, brave thinkers like Copernicus and Galileo dared to ask, what if we're wrong? They looked closer, and they found that, actually, the Earth moves around the sun. That simple shift changed everything, opening up new ways to understand space and our place in it. They didn't accept what was known. Think about when you're studying for a big test. Maybe you read your notes once and think, yep, got it. I know everything now. Then you get to the test, and a question pops up that you totally missed because you stopped looking. That feeling of certainty, of knowing, can actually trick us into ignoring new information or different perspectives. It can make us miss out on truly incredible discoveries, both about the world and about ourselves. And that's why it matters. True wisdom isn't about having all the answers. It's about staying open. It's about understanding that there's always more to discover, more to wonder about, more to learn. It's a quiet courage to say, I don't know yet, but I'm ready to find out. The mistake of might makes right. Think about those moments when someone stronger or louder gets their way. Even if deep down, you know they are wrong. It feels deeply unfair, doesn't it? It leaves a hollow ache inside. This uneasy feeling connects to an old dangerous idea that has shaped our world for too long. Might makes right. It means whoever has the most power, the greatest strength, or the loudest voice, gets to decide what is true, what is fair, or what is allowed. Their power, simply their ability to force something, makes their actions seem justified in their own eyes. For centuries, people have wrestled with this deeply flawed thought. Ancient empires often believed they were right because they had the biggest armies and could conquer others. Kings and queens ruled, often suggesting their power was a divine gift, making their commands automatically just. But history shows us a different, often heartbreaking story. Many leaders throughout time have taken advantage of this idea. They believed their strength gave them the right to take land, control people, or impose their will, simply because they could. And here's the thing, it led to so much pain, so many tears, and countless lives shattered. Whole civilizations suffered under this mistaken belief. Imagine in a school hallway, a really big kid pushes a smaller kid aside to get to the front of the line for lunch. The big kid gets their food first. Did their size make it okay? Did their might suddenly make pushing someone right? Of course not. It was just an act of raw power, not justice. It created fear, not fairness. The smaller kid felt helpless and hurt. Their feelings and their basic right to be treated with respect were ignored, simply because they weren't as strong. The mistake of might makes right teaches us a profound lesson. Power alone doesn't create justice or truth. True rightness comes from things like fairness, kindness, and respecting everyone, no matter how strong or weak they are. It's a quiet strength, one that doesn't need to push or shout or dominate. So here's what happened over time. People learned to question this idea, to resist it with all their heart. They fought for rules, for laws, and for human rights that protect everyone, not just the powerful. And that's why it matters so much, because we can choose to build a world where what is truly right is actually right, and not just what is powerful. Why happiness wasn't the goal for some. Have you ever wondered if always being happy is even possible? Most of us chase happiness like it's the finish line of life. We want to feel good, laugh often, and avoid anything that hurts. But here's the thing. For many deep thinkers and cultures, personal happiness wasn't the main prize. It wasn't what they aimed for above all else. Imagine ancient philosophers, like the Stoics in Greece, or think of great leaders throughout history. They didn't always talk about joy and comfort. Instead, they focused on things like virtue, duty, and living a life that was good in a deeper sense. They believed it was more important to be brave, to be fair, or to serve your community, even if those choices brought hardship. For them, a truly meaningful life wasn't about feeling happy every second. It was about acting with purpose, living by strong values, and striving for something bigger than themselves. Doing the right thing often felt hard, not happy, but they saw that as the path to a different kind of fulfillment. Think about a scientist working for years on a cure for a terrible disease. They might spend long nights in the lab, face many failures, and miss fun times. They aren't happy in the moment of frustration or exhaustion, but they keep going because their purpose is bigger than their own comfort. Their goal isn't instant happiness, it's the hope of helping others. That deep commitment drives them. So maybe the real question isn't, am I happy right now? Maybe it's, am I living a life that matters? Am I doing things that build something good, even if it's tough? Sometimes, the quiet feeling of knowing you've done something truly important, something that lasts, can feel more profound than any quick smile. It's a different kind of rich feeling, one that comes from contributing, from enduring, and from finding meaning beyond just feeling good. Our lives can hold a deeper purpose, a quiet strength that isn't always loud with joy, but shines bright with significance. The idea that pain was always bad. Have you ever truly considered if pain, that sharp, unwelcome feeling, could actually be more than just bad? For a long time, most people saw pain as purely negative, an enemy to fight, hide from, or numb away. And it's easy to see why we feel this way. No one enjoys the sting of a scraped knee or the deep ache of disappointment. Our bodies and minds pull away from anything that hurts. But here's the thing. What if pain is actually a crucial messenger, a vital alarm system that protects us? Think about it clearly. Imagine you accidentally touch a hot stove. That instant, searing burn isn't just uncomfortable. It's a powerful, urgent signal. It tells your brain, danger. Move your hand, fast, or face much worse harm. If you didn't feel that pain, your body might ignore the heat, causing severe injury without realizing it. In this way, physical pain isn't a punishment, it's a protector, a teacher that sets vital boundaries. This simple idea, that pain served a purpose beyond just suffering, began to challenge thinkers centuries ago. They observed that sometimes, through struggle and discomfort, we actually grow stronger, wiser. An athlete pushes past muscle soreness to build endurance. A student grapples with a confusing problem, feeling frustrated, but when they finally understand it, their knowledge becomes deeper. Even the emotional pain of a sad goodbye can lead to a deeper understanding of love and resilience. So, here's what I found. It's not about seeking out pain or pretending it doesn't hurt. It's about recognizing its often hidden role. Pain, physical or emotional, can be a rough but honest guide on life's challenging journeys. It doesn't mean the path is wrong. It means you are truly experiencing, learning, and changing. To hold on to the idea that pain was always bad might be an old error, keeping us from appreciating how much growth and understanding can emerge from life's difficult, sharp edges. Perhaps these moments aren't just there to wound us, but to powerfully shape us. Thinking history just repeats itself forever. Have you ever felt like you're stuck in a loop? Like the same arguments keep happening, or the same mistakes get made, no matter what? It's easy to look at the past, at wars and struggles, and think, here's the thing, people never truly change. History just keeps doing the same thing over and over. This idea is a really old one. Some ancient thinkers believed time was like a giant wheel, always turning, bringing the same events back around. They thought there was no real progress, just endless cycles. It can feel comforting in a way, like nothing is truly new, but it also takes away hope. But here's the problem. When we believe history simply repeats, we miss the quiet, powerful ways things do change. Think about a time you tried something new. Maybe you learned a new game, or finally understood a tough math problem. At first, it might have felt impossible, like you'd never get it. But with effort, you learned. You adapted. You didn't just repeat the same struggle forever. Our world is like that too, just on a much bigger scale. Yes, humans face similar challenges across time, things like unfairness, conflict, or wanting to belong. But how we face them, the tools we use, the ideas we develop, those things are always evolving. We build on what came before. For example, people once thought illnesses were caused by angry gods. Now, we understand germs and vaccines. It's a huge shift in thinking, not just a repeat of the same old fear. To believe history only repeats means we ignore the incredible power we have right now. It means we don't see how every choice, every new discovery, every act of kindness can gently nudge the future in a different direction. We are not just actors in an endless play. We are also its writers. The past is important, but the future is still unwritten, shaped by what we choose to do right now. When freedom meant just doing anything, what if I told you that once upon a time, many people thought freedom just meant doing whatever you wanted? No rules, no limits, just pure choice. It sounds amazing, right? Like you could fly, or eat ice cream for every meal, or never do homework again. You could say whatever popped into your head, go wherever you pleased, and act on every single impulse you felt. But here's the thing. This idea of doing anything was a big mistake for civilization. For a long time, some people, especially after strict rules had been in place for ages, dreamed of a life without any chains. They wanted to break free from old traditions and old ways of thinking, and so, the idea grew that freedom meant simply being able to act on every wish, every desire, without a second thought for anyone or anything else. It was an exciting thought, full of power and endless possibility. But think about it this way. Imagine a soccer game where there are no lines, no referee, no rules. Everyone just runs around, kicking the ball any way they want. Would it be fun? Maybe for a minute, but soon, it would be messy. People would crash into each other. No one could score, because there'd be no goal. The game would fall apart. It would be chaos, not freedom. That's kind of what happens when freedom is just doing anything. It sounds like a dream, but it often ends up being a nightmare. Because when everyone only thinks of themselves, without limits, nobody is truly free. People get hurt. Dreams get crushed. The world becomes a harder place for everyone, full of noise and anger, where nothing can truly grow. True freedom, the kind that lets everyone thrive, it asks for something more. It asks for thought. It asks for care. It asks for us to understand that our choices touch the lives of others, always. And that's why we had to learn, often the hard way, that real freedom is not just about what I can do, but what we can build together. The era of only my group matters. Why do we sometimes believe that our own group is the only one that truly counts? It's a powerful error. It's the idea that our people, our way of thinking, holds all the truth. It's when we see others, different from us, as less worthy, or even as a danger. This thinking builds walls in our minds and hearts. Instead of bridges, throughout history, this narrow view has fueled immense pain. Think about times when different groups couldn't share land, or when people were treated terribly just because of their family, beliefs, or skin color. It's a repeating, painful pattern. This era caused deep conflicts and kept us from understanding the world. It led to heartbreaking suffering for so many. Here's the thing. It feels good to belong. We naturally feel safe within our group. But when that feeling turns into believing only your group matters, That's when problems start. Imagine a forest. If the oak trees decided only they mattered, ignoring the soil, water, and tiny insects, the whole forest would suffer. Every part, even the smallest, plays a vital role. We are all part of a larger human ecosystem, like that forest. The quiet truth is, no group holds all the answers. Every person, culture, community brings a unique piece to the puzzle of understanding our world. When we open our minds and hearts to others, we don't lose anything. We gain so much more. We begin to see the incredible richness of human experience beyond our own small corner. And that, truly, is how we grow, not just as individuals, but as one interconnected human family. We move from just me and mine to all of us together. How ignoring feelings made us cold. Have you ever been told to just get over it, or don't be so emotional? For a long time, many believed feelings were a problem. They thought our minds and logic should always lead. Emotions were seen as messy, weak, something to push down. This taught us that feeling too much meant you weren't strong. Ancient thinkers and scientists often valued pure reason. They believed that smart decisions came from ignoring your heart. This idea shaped how societies saw feelings for a very long time. But here's the thing. Trying to block out feelings is like holding a beach ball underwater. You push it down, but it always pops back up with force. When we ignore sadness, fear, or joy, those feelings don't disappear. They get buried deep. This can make us feel numb, or appear later as anger or stress. Our feelings are like a compass for life. They tell us important things about what's happening around us and inside us. If we ignore them, we lose our way. We might hurt others without knowing it, or miss important warning signs for ourselves. And that's why it matters. When we decide feelings aren't important, we build walls between us. We stop truly understanding each other's struggles. We become less kind, less connected. We grow colder, not just to others, but to ourselves. Real strength isn't about not feeling. It's about listening to what our feelings tell us and letting them guide us to be truly human. The dream of a perfect society that failed. Have you ever imagined a place where everything is just right? No arguments, no unfairness, everyone happy. It's a nice thought, right? This dream of a perfect society, a utopia, has captured hearts for thousands of years. Thinkers and leaders alike have pictured a world without problems, where rules are fair and everyone lives in peace. They truly believed that if they just set up the right system, we could fix all human troubles. Here's the thing. History is full of people trying to build these perfect places. Ancient Greek philosophers, like Plato, wrote about ideal cities with strict rules for everyone. Later, groups actually tried to create communities based on shared property and perfect cooperation. The idea was simple. Remove selfishness, make everyone equal, and boom, perfection. But here's the problem. Humans aren't like pieces on a chessboard, easily moved to fit a perfect plan. We're messy. We have our own unique dreams, fears, and stubborn ideas. It's like when you try to get everyone in a group project to agree on every single detail. Even with the best intentions, someone will have a different idea or want to do things their own way. That natural push and pull, that beautiful, chaotic energy of individual people, is what makes us human. When you try to force everyone into a flawless mold, it often breaks. The dream of perfection ends up crushing the very freedom it promised. So, maybe the error isn't in wanting things to be better. It's in thinking we can erase all imperfection, all differences. Maybe true progress comes not from trying to build an impossible perfect world, but from learning to live with and even embrace the wonderful, complicated mess that is us. We learn to find beauty and strength in our differences, instead of fighting them. Believing minds and bodies were totally separate. Have you ever felt a knot in your stomach when you're worried, or a headache after a stressful day? For a long time, people saw your mind and your body as two completely different things. They imagined your mind, your thoughts and feelings, like a pilot in a cockpit, steering your body. The body was just a machine. The mind was separate. This idea, called dualism, felt right to many smart thinkers, like René Descartes centuries ago. If you stubbed your toe, it hurt your body, but your thoughts didn't vanish. This belief led to a big problem. It made us ignore how deeply connected everything is. We saw body illnesses as purely physical and mental struggles as just in your head, as not real. But here's the truth. They are woven together. Think about it. When you feel down, sometimes a long walk outside or playing a sport can lift your spirits. Body movement helps your mind, And when you're stressed, your body often reacts with tension, trouble sleeping, or feeling physically sick. Your mind impacts your body, and your body's health shapes your mind. The error was thinking these two vital parts could be separate. Because of this, for centuries, we sometimes treated illnesses without seeing the whole picture. We separated mental health from physical health. This meant we overlooked ways to heal ourselves. Recognizing that our mind and body are one interconnected system changes everything. It means taking care of your body with physical care is a powerful way to support your mind, and nurturing your mind with mental care helps your body thrive. We are not just a brain in a box. We are a whole, deeply connected being. Understanding this helps us care for ourselves with more wisdom. The danger of thinking, I'm always right. Have you ever been absolutely, completely sure about something? So certain that your mind felt locked, unable to even consider another way. Here's the thing. That feeling, that deep certainty that I'm always right, can be one of the most dangerous thoughts we carry. It's not about being confident. It's about being closed off. It means we stop listening, stop learning, and sometimes we stop truly seeing the world around us. Think about it. For a very long time, people truly believed the sun revolved around the earth. It just made sense to them, right? The sun rose, it set, it moved across the sky. So, everyone knew it was true. But brave thinkers, people who were willing to question what everyone else accepted, eventually showed us the real picture. The earth goes around the sun, and that changed everything. It wasn't easy for people to accept, because admitting you were wrong, and that countless generations before you were wrong, feels big. It can hurt, but here's what happened. By being open to being wrong, we actually found the truth. And that's why it matters. When we cling to our own ideas as the only possible truth, we build walls. We miss out on new understandings, beautiful discoveries, and even amazing friendships. Imagine being stuck on a puzzle, convinced your piece is the only one that fits. When a friend has the perfect one, you just aren't looking at dot. So, here's a calm thought. Maybe the greatest wisdom isn't knowing all the answers. Maybe it's being brave enough to admit you don't, and humble enough to keep looking, to keep listening. Because the world is much bigger, much more wonderful, than any single person's ideas, even our own. When science was banned by belief, have you ever learned something new? A big truth that totally flipped what you thought you knew. It feels a little shaky, right? Like the ground shifted. But imagine a time when a new truth wasn't just shaky. It was dangerous. It could get you into serious trouble. Here's the thing. For a long time, what people believed was so powerful. It actually tried to stop what people discovered. Think about the stars. For centuries, people truly believed our Earth was the center of everything. The sun, the moon, all the stars, they circled us. This idea wasn't just a thought. It was woven into their understanding of life, their stories, and their faith. Then, a man named Galileo came along. He used his new telescope to see things differently. He saw moons orbiting Jupiter, not Earth. He saw proof that Earth wasn't the center, but just one planet circling the sun. This was a massive, uncomfortable truth. And here's what happened. Instead of cheering for this amazing discovery, many were terrified. It shattered their comfortable worldview. It felt like their entire world was pulling apart. So, Galileo's scientific findings weren't just ignored. They were banned. He was told to keep quiet, to pretend what he saw wasn't true. It's like if you found a faster way to solve a tough math problem, but your teacher insisted you had to use the old, harder method, and even punished you for trying anything new, just because the old way was tradition. That feeling of fear, of holding on to old ideas because they feel safe, is a powerful force. It shows how deeply we can cling to what we think is true, even when new evidence is right there. But here's the thing. Truth often finds its light, even when people try to hide it. It teaches us to be brave enough to look, to question, and to let go of old ideas when new, truer ones emerge. That's how we move forward, even when it feels a little scary. The idea that one race was superior. Have you ever wondered why people sometimes treat others differently, just because of how they look? For a long time, too many people believed a truly harmful idea, that one group of humans was simply better than all others. This wasn't about being good at something, like a sport or a subject in school. It was about thinking that certain people were naturally smarter, stronger, or more important, just because of their skin color, or where their family came from. This idea sounds simple, but it has caused so much pain throughout history. It made some people feel like they had the right to control, hurt, or even enslave others. Think about it. If you truly believe another person is less than you, it's easier to be cruel to them, to take their land, or to deny them basic fairness. History shows us many sad examples of this, like how some groups were made to feel inferior for generations, their voices silenced, their dreams crushed. It wasn't based on facts or science, but on fear and ignorance. Here's the thing. Imagining a world where everyone is a different musical instrument in an orchestra. You have violins, drums, flutes, trumpets. Each one has its own unique sound, its own way of contributing to the music. What if the violins decided they were superior to the drums and tried to silence them? The music would be incomplete, harsh, and much less beautiful. The whole song is better because every instrument brings its own special part. Our world is like that orchestra. Every person, every culture, every background adds something essential and unique. When we believe one instrument is superior, we lose the richness, the harmony, and the deep beauty that comes from everyone playing together, respecting each other's sound. It reminds us that our differences are not weaknesses, but strengths, and that true progress comes from valuing every single human heart. Why questioning authority was once a crime imagined, a world where asking why could get you into serious trouble, not just a scolding, but real danger. For a long time, questioning powerful people wasn't just rude, it was a crime against society, sometimes against God. Back then, leaders, kings, queens, religious figures often claimed their power and truth came straight from God. So, if you questioned their rules or beliefs, it felt like questioning the heavens. It wasn't just disagreeing, it was seen as an attack on their power, on how things were. They feared if one person questioned, others would follow, and everything would fall apart. This fear kept people silent, trapped by what everyone believed. Think about when everyone believed Earth was flat, or that the sun went around us. This was the truth for centuries, taught by powerful groups. If a brave scientist looked through a telescope and saw something different, like Earth going around the sun, and then spoke out, they faced huge danger. Their ideas were seen as wild, even evil, because they challenged what everyone knew. It didn't matter if they were right. What mattered was daring to contradict those in charge. They risked everything for a new way to see the world. This silent fear, this pressure to fit in, kept new ideas hidden for ages. Humanity stayed in the dark because no one felt safe enough to ask a different question. So, the freedom we have today, to wonder, to debate, to challenge, is a precious gift. It's a freedom bought by those who risked everything just to ask why. And it reminds us that real progress often begins with a quiet, brave whisper of doubt. The lie that poverty was a virtue. Have you ever heard someone say that suffering or not having much makes you a better person? It sounds strange, right? The idea that being poor, struggling for basic needs, could somehow be a good thing. This belief, that poverty itself is a virtue, caused a lot of harm in many old societies. People were taught that giving up money was a path to spiritual greatness. Some holy people chose a simple life. They focused on inner peace, not things. That choice, made freely, can be powerful. But here's the thing, this idea got twisted. It went from choosing a simple life to believing that poverty, forced on people, was good for their souls. Imagine telling someone who is always hungry, or has no safe home, that their hardship is making them a better person. It's like telling a plant that wilting from lack of water is making it stronger. That's not strength. It's suffering. When people are told their struggles are good, it can stop them from trying to improve their lives, and it can stop others from helping. Because why fix something supposedly good? This lie made it easier for people to ignore poverty's real problems. It suggested that needing food or a home was a sign of weakness, not a basic human right. But here's what I found. True goodness isn't about how much you own. It's about kindness, courage, honesty, and empathy. These qualities don't need an empty stomach to grow. They thrive when people have stability and can live with dignity. Goodness comes from within, not from lacking things. Thinking we could control nature completely, have you ever wished you could just tell the rain to stop, or make the sun shine exactly when you wanted? That feeling of wanting to be in charge is powerful. For a long time, many people truly believed we could master nature, bend it completely to our will. This was a big idea, and honestly, a bit of a mistake. Here's the thing, people have always worked to make life easier, building cities and growing food. That's natural, but a big mistake was believing we were separate from nature, not part of it. We thought our cleverness, our machines, our engineering could conquer anything. We built huge dams, changed rivers, cleared vast forests. It was like thinking we could redraw the world just because we had a pen. We wanted total control over oceans, forests, even the air. Think about trying to build a sandcastle right at the edge of the ocean, where waves crash hard. You work hard, make it strong, maybe even think it will last forever. But the ocean has its own rhythm, its own power. A big wave comes, and your perfect castle crumbles. It's not a failure on your part, but a reminder that some forces are too immense to fully control. Or think of a huge dam built to hold back a river. For a while, it seems like we've won. But sometimes, the river finds a new path, or the dam faces pressure it was never meant to handle. And that's why it matters. This idea that we could simply control nature led us to forget its balance, its wisdom. We learned, often the hard way, that nature isn't something to be beaten. It's a partner, a force we live with. The wind, the rain, the earth, they have their own stories, their own cycles. Maybe true strength isn't in trying to control everything. Instead, it's about learning to understand and respect the world around us, living with the wild heart of our planet, not just trying to cage it. The belief that everything was predetermined. Have you ever wondered if your life is like a story already written? What if every choice, every path, was decided long ago? This idea that everything is predetermined shaped how people saw the world for ages. It's the belief that an invisible force, maybe fate, maybe a powerful God, has already planned every event, from huge historical moments to your smallest step tomorrow. Imagine ancient people looking at the stars, believing their destinies were etched there. For thousands of years, thinkers struggled to understand why things happened. Many found comfort in a grand plan. But this belief, while offering peace in tragedy it was meant to be, also took away personal choice. It could make effort seem pointless. If the outcome is already decided, why even try? Think about a track race. If you believed the winner was already chosen, would you train hard? Would you push at the finish line? Probably not. The joy, the struggle, the feeling of earning success, much comes from knowing your effort matters. Defeat is easier when you know you gave it your all. This belief that our actions don't shape what happens can feel heavy. It makes you feel like a character in a play, reading lines someone else wrote, not the author of your own story. But here's the thing, a fixed destiny can be a deep comfort. Yet, it also makes us ask about our courage, our compassion, our humanity. If every moment is already set, what becomes of hope? What about trying to make things better? Maybe real power isn't in knowing what will happen. It's in facing each new moment, believing our choices, big or small, still carry weight. Even in a vast, mysterious universe, your choices can sparkle. It asks us to find quiet strength in deciding to try, even if the ending isn't guaranteed. When beauty was only about rules, have you ever wondered if beauty always felt personal, like what you think is pretty? It's kind of strange, but for a long time, what people called beautiful wasn't about feelings or personal taste at all. Here's the thing, it was mostly about rules. Think way back to ancient Greece. Those smart thinkers, the philosophers, believed true beauty was tied to perfect order and balance. If something was beautiful, it had to follow very specific measurements and proportions. Imagine a building needing a certain height-to-width ratio, or a statue having limbs perfectly scaled. They even applied this to music, saying melodies were beautiful if they followed mathematical patterns. It wasn't about whether a song made you feel happy, it was about if it was correct. Imagine if your favorite video game was only considered good if its graphics and storyline perfectly followed a rigid checklist, with no room for creative glitches or unexpected twists. If it didn't match the rules exactly, it was just wrong, not beautiful. This way of thinking meant that if a painting or a poem didn't fit these ancient formulas, it wasn't seen as truly beautiful, no matter the artist's effort. And that's why it matters. This idea that beauty was only about fitting a perfect mold left out so much. It didn't account for the wild, unexpected moments that can take your breath away, or the feeling you get when something just speaks to you, even if it's not perfectly symmetrical. It makes you wonder, did they miss out on a whole world of magic just because it didn't follow the rules? Maybe beauty is more than just right or wrong. Maybe it's also about how it makes us feel. The mistake of the ends justify the means. Have you ever wanted to win so badly, or achieve a goal, that you thought about doing something a little not so right just to get there? Maybe cutting a corner, or stretching the truth. This feeling touches on a very old and often dangerous idea. The ends justify the means. It means believing that if the final result is good, then it doesn't matter what you did to get that result. Like saying, "It's okay, I pushed my way to the front of the line because I really needed to get this done quickly." But here's the thing. History shows us this idea can lead to a lot of pain. Leaders in the past sometimes convinced themselves it was okay to be cruel or unfair to many people, all because they believed in a better future. They thought their good goal made bad actions acceptable. It's a very tempting trap, because a good outcome can blind us to the harm we cause along the way. Imagine you're building a tower with your friends, a really amazing, tall one. You desperately wanted to be the tallest in the competition. So, when no one is looking, you subtly sabotage another team's tower. You win. Your tower is the tallest. The end, winning, seems good, but the means, sabotaging and being unfair, that's not good at all. What does that victory really mean? It's built on deceit. You might have the tallest tower, but you've probably broken trust with your friends, and you haven't actually learned how to build better. This way of thinking whispers that what's right or wrong doesn't really matter, as long as you get what you want. But our journey, the steps we take, they shape us. They show who we are. Choosing kindness, honesty, and respect, even when it makes reaching our goal harder, creates a deeper, truer kind of success. It builds trust, not just a win. And that, in the long run, matters so much more. Forgetting how to doubt and learn. Have you ever felt completely sure about something? So sure, you just knew it was true. That feeling is powerful. It makes you feel smart. But here's the thing. Being too sure can be a big mistake. It means we stop doubting. And when we stop doubting, we also stop truly learning. Think about a time long ago. Everyone believed the sun moved around the earth. It looked that way every day. If someone suggested the earth moved, people would probably laugh. For centuries, this was simply how it was. No one questioned it. Then, thinkers like Copernicus and Galileo came. They observed the sky closely. They dared to ask, what if we're wrong? Their doubt, their willingness to challenge common belief, led to a huge discovery. It changed how we saw our place in the universe. It's like learning to ride a bike. Your first try won't be perfect. If you never doubt your balance, if you just keep doing the same thing, you'll keep falling. You have to think, why did I fall? You adjust. You try a different way. That's learning. It means being okay with not knowing everything, and being curious to figure things out. When we forget how to doubt, our minds can close. We miss new ideas or facts. We stop growing. Real learning isn't just about collecting answers. It's about keeping your mind open, ready to ask questions, ready to find something new. It's a quiet understanding that even strong beliefs might be wrong sometimes, and that's perfectly okay. That's where true understanding begins. Always keep a small space in your mind for wonder and for change. The idea that money was the only measure of worth. Have you ever stopped to think about what makes a person truly valuable? Is it the clothes they wear, the size of their house, or how much money they have? For a long time, many people in different civilizations believed money was the only thing that truly showed a person's worth. Here's the thing. This idea became a huge mistake, shaping how societies worked and how people felt about themselves. Imagine a world where everything good, every talent, every kind deed was only counted if it could be bought or sold. This way of thinking isn't new. As trade grew and cities became centers of commerce, the shine of gold and coins started to overshadow other kinds of value. People began to see wealth as a sign of success, intelligence, and even goodness. If you were poor, it was easy to feel like you didn't matter as much, or that you were somehow less worthy. But here's the problem. Think about someone who spends their life helping animals, or a person who dedicates years to teaching kids, even if they don't earn a huge salary, or a scientist finding a cure for a disease, driven by helping, not just profit. Are their contributions less important just because they don't earn a huge fortune? No, their true value comes from their actions, their kindness, and the good impact they have on the world. These things are priceless. You can't put a tag on them. This old way of thinking, that money is everything, often blinded people to true treasures. It made societies focus on gaining wealth, sometimes at the expense of caring for others or the environment. And that's why it matters. When we look deeper, beyond the dollar signs, we find that real worth is woven into who we are, what we do for others, and the quiet acts of courage and compassion that build a better world. It's a feeling, a connection, a a purpose, something no amount of money can ever truly buy or fully measure. How a few good ideas became bad rules. Have you ever stopped to think about how some rules, the ones that seem to make life harder, actually got started? It's a strange thing, but often, the rules that hold us back began as really good ideas. Someone, somewhere, thought they were helping, creating something wise, but over time, the wisdom got lost, twisted, or stretched too far, turning something helpful into a heavy chain. Here's the thing, human beings want to make sense of the world. We crave order, so, when someone shared a brilliant thought, like treat others as you want to be treated, it was a light, a guide for kindness. Or perhaps an ancient thinker said, the sun revolves around the earth, because that's what it looked like every day. These were powerful ideas, meant to explain things or help people live better. But then, those ideas solidified. They became more than just a guide. They became strict commands, unchangeable truths. The gentle suggestion to be kind turned into a rigid law about how everyone must behave, with harsh punishments if they didn't fit. The observation about the sun became an absolute belief, making it dangerous for anyone to suggest otherwise, even when new evidence appeared. It's like when a teacher gives a helpful tip for a math problem. If that tip suddenly became the only way to solve any problem, even when it didn't fit, it would just make things confusing and wrong, right? We hold on to these old ideas, sometimes, because change is scary. We forget the original spirit of the idea, the kindness, the curiosity, the desire to understand. Instead, we cling to the letter of the rule, even if it no longer serves us, or even hurts us. It makes you wonder, doesn't it, what good ideas today might become the restrictive, confusing rules of tomorrow, if we're not careful. It's a quiet challenge, really, to always remember the heart of an idea, not just its hardened shell. The error of not listening to the poor. Have you ever felt like your idea wasn't heard, like it just drifted away, unheard, even when you knew it was important? Imagine that feeling, but on a much bigger scale, across a whole society. The error of not listening to the poor isn't just about ignoring people, it's about missing huge parts of the truth. It's like building a world with incomplete information. When we don't hear from those struggling, we lose sight of what life is really like for many. We miss their problems, their clever solutions, their understanding of survival. Think about history. So many times, kingdoms and empires fell because leaders were too far removed from their people. They sat in palaces, making rules that didn't make sense on the streets. Take the French Revolution, for example. Years of ignoring the hunger, the unfairness, the quiet desperation of ordinary people built up. When it finally broke, it broke with terrible force. It showed that when a society silences its most vulnerable, it often paves the way for its own undoing. It's like trying to steer a ship in a storm, ignoring warnings from the deckhands closest to the waves. Here's the thing. Imagine you're trying to figure out why your bike chain keeps falling off. You ask friends with fancy new bikes, but they don't have your problem. You need to talk to the friend with an older bike, who's fixed it 100 times, who knows every creak and groan. They know the real problem, the simple, hidden reason no one else sees. Their experience, though maybe not polished, is vital for fixing the issue. That's the power of listening to voices often overlooked. They hold knowledge born from direct experience, knowledge others simply don't have. So, this era isn't just about fairness, though that matters too. It's about wisdom. It's about understanding that truth can come from anywhere, especially from places of hardship. When we truly listen to every voice, especially the quietest ones, we build a richer, stronger, more compassionate world. We learn not just about their struggles, but about our shared humanity and the strength that comes from enduring. Thinking God only cared about one group. Have you ever felt like your group, your team, or your family was the most important? It's a powerful feeling to believe you're chosen. But sometimes, this feeling can twist into a big misunderstanding. The idea that a higher power, or even destiny itself, cares only about one specific group, that everyone else is, somehow, less important. This belief, this philosophical error, has woven through human history like a stubborn thread. For centuries, groups have believed they were the favorites. They thought their way of life was the only right way. This often led to deep divides. It made it easy to see others not as fellow humans, but as outsiders. Wars were fought, injustices happened, all because one group felt uniquely blessed and superior. This closed off empathy, making it hard to see our shared humanity. Imagine a school project. What if one small group thought only their ideas mattered? They might ignore input from classmates, believing they were the only ones who could make the project succeed. But then, the project struggles because they missed out on good ideas from others. They forgot that everyone brings something important. The truth is, life is vast. The world is full of different people, cultures, and beliefs, each with their own beauty and worth. To think any divine power or universal force would limit its care to just one small part of humanity feels small, almost lonely. It shrinks the world. Instead, imagine a bigger picture, one where kindness, understanding, and value extend to every single person. That idea, that everyone matters, opens up our hearts. It builds bridges instead of walls, and paints a more hopeful, deeply connected picture of being human. When emotions were seen as weakness, have you ever been told to be strong or don't cry? Even when your heart felt heavy, for a very long time, people believed showing emotions was a weakness. Imagine a world where sadness, fear, or even great joy was seen as flaws. Ancient thinkers often taught that wise people should control their feelings, push them down, or try to get rid of them completely. They thought emotions clouded judgment, making people act without thinking and choose poorly. Many tried to be completely logical, like human computers. They believed this was the only path to true strength. It was almost like seeing your feelings as a loud, unruly guest at a quiet dinner party, something to be shushed or hidden. This idea shaped societies, how parents raised children, and how people saw each other. Think of old stories where heroes never cried or showed fear. They were praised. This way of thinking was a mistake. But here's the thing. Emotions aren't just random noise. Imagine driving a car without a dashboard, no speedometer, no fuel gauge. That's a bit like living without emotions. Your feelings are like that dashboard. Sadness tells you something is wrong. Fear warns you of danger. Even anger, when understood, can point to an injustice. They are signals, not weaknesses. When we believed emotions were errors, we stopped listening to these important signals. We tried to silence a part of ourselves that helps us navigate the world, understand others, and truly understand ourselves. This taught us to build walls around our truest selves. And that's why it matters. Acknowledging our feelings isn't about being weak. It's about being fully human, truly aware, and deeply strong. It's about letting your inner compass guide you. The lie that change was always evil. Have you ever felt a little nervous about something new, like moving to a different school, or even just trying a strange new food? That feeling, that small resistance, is something humans have known for a very long time. For much of history, people didn't just feel nervous about change. They believed change itself was often bad, even evil. Think about it. In ancient times, life was mostly about keeping things the same. If your family farmed a certain way, you farmed that way. If your village had always done things one specific way, you didn't question it. Change was seen as dangerous. It could ruin crops, upset the gods, or break the traditions that kept everyone safe. People held on to the past tightly, like a comfort blanket, because the unknown felt like a threat. This wasn't just a simple preference. It was a deep, unspoken belief that the natural order was fixed, and to mess with it was to invite disaster. This idea became a heavy chain, slowing down progress, making people afraid to even imagine a different, possibly better, future. But here's the thing about life. It's always changing. Think about a caterpillar. For a while, it's a worm-like creature, munching on leaves. If it stayed a caterpillar forever, it would never know flight. It has to go through a massive, confusing change inside a chrysalis. It dissolves, practically. But out of that messy, uncertain time comes something beautiful and completely new, a butterfly. The caterpillar didn't just change, it became something else, something wonderful. Our own lives are like that. We grow, we learn, we move from being children to young adults. Our bodies change, our thoughts change, our understanding of the world changes. This constant flow isn't a mistake or an evil force trying to trip us up. It's the very rhythm of life, the way things are meant to be. Learning to accept this, to even welcome it, helps us embrace our own growth. It helps us see that change, though sometimes scary, is often the path to something truly amazing. Believing only the strong should survive. Have you ever thought about what makes a group, a team, or even a whole town truly strong? Sometimes, people believe only the toughest, smartest, or wealthiest should survive. They think if someone struggles, it's just nature taking its course, like survival of the fittest. This idea sounds simple, but it's a big mistake that has caused much pain and stopped us from growing together. Here's the thing. Survival of the fittest comes from how nature works. Scientists like Charles Darwin observed how animals adapt to their environment. But humans sometimes twisted this idea. They started thinking it meant we should let people suffer, or that it's okay for some to be crushed so others can rise. History shows us how this belief led to very harsh societies. People used it to justify unkindness, saying some groups were weaker and deserved less. It made people forget compassion. Think about a school project. If one person in your group is having trouble understanding a part, do you just let them fail? Or do you take a moment to explain, to help them catch up? If you help, your whole project gets better, right? Everyone learns more. It's not about one strong person doing all the work. It's about the group becoming stronger together because you supported each other. That's how real strength works, not just in a classroom, but in life. When we only look out for ourselves, or only the most powerful, we miss out. We lose many amazing ideas and talents from people who just needed a little help. True strength isn't just about winning a race. It's about building a path where everyone can run. It's about understanding that a helping hand makes everyone more resilient. And that's why it matters to believe in kindness, not just raw power. Our shared future depends on how we lift each other up. The idea that truth was whatever you felt. Have you ever felt something so strongly, so deeply, that it just had to be true? Maybe you felt sure a friend was mad at you, even if they said they weren't. Or you just knew you'd ace a test, even without much studying. For a long time, people believed truth was something you discovered outside yourself, like a law of nature or a logical fact. You looked for it, studied it, proved it. But then, a powerful idea started to spread. What if truth wasn't out there, waiting? What if it was actually inside you? What if truth was simply whatever you felt was right, in your heart, in your soul? This concept grew over centuries, suggesting there wasn't one universal truth for everyone. Instead, what felt true to you became your truth. It sounds freeing, doesn't it? My feelings are valid. And yes, your feelings are valid. They're real parts of your experience. But here's the thing. Feelings, however strong, aren't always the same as truth. Think about being sick with a fever. You feel so hot, your head throbbing. You might feel like your body temperature is through the roof, but a thermometer reads 100 degrees. While 100 degrees is a fever, you might have felt like it was 105. Your feeling of being super hot was real for you, but the actual temperature was a specific number, a fact existing independently of your intense feeling. This idea that truth is just whatever you feel can make things tricky. If everyone's feelings are their ultimate truth, how do we agree on what's real? How do we work together to solve big problems, or even decide what's fair in a game? It reminds us that while our feelings are important, they aren't the only guide. Truth sometimes asks us to look beyond what we feel, to search for facts, and to question even our own strongest emotions. It's a quiet whisper that some truths exist, solid and steady, whether we feel them or not. Why thinking too much could be dangerous. Have you ever found yourself caught in a tangled web of thoughts, where your mind spins and spins, making a simple decision feel like climbing a mountain? It's a strange idea, but sometimes, thinking too much can actually be dangerous. It's like standing at the edge of a beautiful forest, wanting to explore, but getting so lost in planning every single step, every possible bug, every wrong turn that you never even take the first one. This isn't about being smart or not. It's about how our amazing minds, when left unchecked, can sometimes lead us away from action, away from living. Long, long ago, people noticed this. Ancient wisdom often warned against getting stuck in our heads. They understood that endlessly replaying scenarios or imagining every bad outcome can trap us. It's like building a magnificent ship in your mind, but never actually setting sail because you're too busy worrying about every wave, every storm, every tiny crack that might appear. Your perfect ship, full of potential, just sits in the harbor of your thoughts. Think about a time you had a big school project. You might have had a brilliant idea, but then you started to overthink. Is my idea good enough? What if it's too simple? What if it's too complicated? What will everyone else think? Soon, the excitement drains away, and the project feels heavy, impossible. You might even miss the deadline, not because you weren't smart enough, but because you thought yourself into a corner, paralyzed by all the what-ifs. The danger isn't thinking itself, but thinking only. It's when our thoughts become a cage, not a key. It reminds us that there's a quiet power in letting go, in trusting a little, and in just doing. Sometimes, the bravest thing we can do is to step out of our own minds and simply begin letting the path reveal itself. The mistake of trying to make everyone the same. Have you ever thought about how strange it would be if every single flower in a field looked exactly alike? No different colors, no different shapes, just one kind of flower, repeated endlessly. It wouldn't feel right, would it? Here's the thing. For a long time, and even today, people have made a similar mistake with humans. They try to make everyone the same. This idea pops up in different ways. Sometimes, it's about making everyone think the same thoughts, believe the same things, or even act in the exact same way. It's like saying, your unique light isn't needed. We need you to be just like everyone else. And that's a really big problem. When societies or leaders tried to push this idea, they often silenced voices and dulled spirits. They thought if everyone was the same, there would be fewer disagreements or problems. But what actually happened was that joy and new ideas faded away, leaving behind a quiet sadness. History shows us this again and again. When individuality is crushed, progress slows, and hearts grow heavy. Think about a soccer team. Imagine if every player was a goalkeeper. Who would score goals? Who would defend the midfield? A team is strong not because everyone is the same, but because each player brings a different skill and a different perspective. One person might be fast, another strategic, another a great leader. It's these differences that make the team powerful and interesting to watch. Pushing them toward victory, that can help you see why trying to erase our individual sparks is so damaging. Each of us is a unique creation, with our own talents, feelings, and ways of seeing the world. When we try to force everyone into the same mold, we lose so much. We lose the new inventions, the beautiful art, the different ways of solving problems that only come from unique minds working together. It's like trying to sing a song with only one note. It might be clear, but it won't be a symphony. We are meant to be a vibrant mix of colors, not just one dull shade. Our world is richer, stronger, and much more beautiful when we celebrate the incredible, varied tapestry of human existence, allowing every single thread to shine. When honor meant blind loyalty, imagine a world where being honorable meant never questioning, never doubting, even if deep down you felt something was wrong. It's a strange idea today, isn't it? We often think of honor as doing what's right, standing up for truth. But for a long time, honor was tied to something else, blind loyalty. This wasn't about being loyal to a good idea. This was absolute devotion to a person, a leader, or a tradition, no matter what they asked. Think about ancient armies. A soldier's honor was tied to never betraying their commander, even if that commander was cruel. Medieval knights swore oaths to their king. To break that oath, even if the king was misguided, meant losing all honor. It wasn't about the morality of the command. It was about the act of obedience itself. Here's the thing, people believed this loyalty was the highest virtue. They thought it held society together. But what happens when loyalty demands you ignore your own conscience? What if it asks you to do something truly unjust? It's like being on a sports team, and your coach tells you to cheat. If your honor meant only obeying the coach, you'd cheat. You wouldn't think about fair play. You'd just do what you were told, because loyalty demanded it. This is a powerful, dangerous trap. This kind of thinking caused immense suffering, allowing terrible decisions to go unchallenged. Critical thinking, asking tough questions, or following your own moral compass were seen as weaknesses, as disloyal. And that's why it matters. True honor isn't about blind obedience. It's about having the courage to look at a situation with open eyes and decide what is truly right, even when it's hard. Our loyalty should always be to what is just and true, not just to a person or a position. The error of waiting for a hero to fix everything. Have you ever felt a problem was just too big, too scary, and secretly wished someone, anyone, would just appear and make it all go away? Maybe a brave leader, a super smart scientist, or even someone magical. This feeling is ancient, deeply human. For thousands of years, people have looked to powerful figures, great kings, wise prophets, or brilliant inventors, hoping one special person would fix everything that felt broken in the world. But here's the thing. This waiting, this hope, placed entirely on one pair of shoulders, can actually be a mistake. It's like a big group project in class, but everyone sits back, expecting the smartest kid to do all the research, write the whole report, and present it perfectly. What happens then? That one kid gets overwhelmed, and the project might not be as good as it could have been. And more importantly, everyone else misses out on learning, on contributing their own ideas, on the power of working together. Throughout history, when societies have faced huge challenges, a terrible illness, unfair rules, or the ruin of their land, the biggest changes didn't always come from a single hero. Often, they came from many ordinary people, doing small, brave things, day after day. Think of movements for civil rights or environmental protection. No single person fixed those issues alone. It took countless voices, countless hands, moving forward together. So this era isn't about heroes being bad. Heroes can inspire us, absolutely, but the mistake is believing that only a hero can solve things, and that we ourselves don't have a part to play. It's the silent choice to wait, rather than to act. Maybe the real heroes aren't just one person, but all of us, when we decide to stand up, speak out, and lend a hand, each in our own way. It's about finding the power within ourselves, and within our communities, to make the changes we wish to see. Thinking progress was automatic. Have you ever hoped that good things would just happen, that problems would solve themselves, and the world would simply get better, all on its own? This quiet hope, this deep belief, is actually a big philosophical error that changed how people thought for a long time. It's the idea that progress, especially for humans and our societies, is automatic. Many years ago, especially after amazing new inventions like electric lights or connected trains, people felt a powerful sense of optimism. It seemed like human smarts would just keep making life better, smoothly. They started to believe our knowledge, technology, and even how we treated each other would naturally improve, like a tree growing taller. They imagined a perfect future, evolving simply because that's what progress did. But here's the thing, progress doesn't work like that. It's not a river flowing steadily to the ocean. Think about learning a new skill, like playing an instrument or a sport. You don't magically get good. You practice, fail, try again. You put in the effort. If you stop practicing, your skill fades. It requires focused work, patience, and a desire to improve. It's the same for society. Our world, our communities, our understanding of justice, they don't just fix themselves. And that's why it matters. This era made people less watchful, less willing to challenge wrongs, assuming things would just sort themselves out. They forgot every step forward, every bit of fairness, every new kindness has to be chosen. It must be built, defended, and nurtured, day by day. Progress is not a destiny. It is a difficult, beautiful choice we make, together, with our hands and our hearts. It's a constant tending, a shared responsibility to make the world a little brighter. It asks for our active love, not just our silent expectation. The belief that art had to be useful. You ever looked at a painting, or listened to music, and just felt something beautiful, or sad, or hopeful? Maybe you didn't even know why you felt that way, or what the art was for. For a long time, many people made a mistake. They thought art had to be useful. This meant they believed art needed a clear job. A painting should teach a lesson, a statue honor a king. For centuries, this idea was very strong. Art was often a tool. It helped people record history, tell stories, or build grand buildings. It served a practical purpose, like a hammer building a house. And yes, some art can be useful. But here's the thing. Imagine a world where all art had to have a practical use. What if every drawing showed instructions? What if every song taught a math problem? It would take away so much wonder, wouldn't it? Think about watching a beautiful sunset. No one says a sunset is useful like a cell phone. It doesn't cook dinner or give directions, but it can make you feel peaceful, amazed. It fills you with feeling, just by existing. That's what art can do. That's era. Thinking art must be useful almost stopped pure creativity. It was like putting a cage around something meant to fly. When people understood art could exist for beauty, for feeling, for sparking imagination, it was like a breath of fresh air. It let artists express things without a practical purpose, but with deep truth and emotion. And that's why it matters. It reminds us not everything important needs a job. Sometimes, beauty and feeling are purpose enough, teaching us about being truly human. When justice meant revenge, have you ever felt that burning, hollow feeling when someone truly wrongs you? Maybe they hurt a friend, or broke something precious that belonged to you. What's your first thought, deep down? For many, for a long time, that first thought wasn't about fairness or talking it out. It was about getting even. This is a big idea we need to think about. For most of human history, justice wasn't what we think of today, with courts and lawyers. It was often a direct, powerful demand for revenge. It was a time when the saying, "an eye for an eye," wasn't just a phrase. It was how things actually worked. If someone caused you pain, you had a right to cause them similar pain back. Think about it like this. If one family hurt another in an ancient village, the second family felt obligated to hurt the first in return. It wasn't about trying to understand why it happened or making amends. It was about evening the score. It was about balancing the hurt with more hurt, believing that this would make things right. But here's the thing, it rarely did. Imagine you're playing a game, and someone cheats you. You feel that hot rush of anger. Your first instinct might be to cheat them back, or maybe even to push them. That immediate urge to make them feel what you felt. That's the echo of old revenge. But does that really solve anything? Does it make you feel truly better? Or does it just start a bigger fight? So here's what happened. This old idea of justice, of just hurting back, often led to endless cycles of violence. A fight became a feud became a war. Because if I take an eye for an eye, then you might feel you need to take an eye back. It's like throwing a pebble into a calm pond. The ripples just keep spreading outwards, touching everyone. This way of thinking brought a cold comfort, maybe, but never true peace. It was an error that trapped people in endless loops of pain, and that's why it matters. Civilizations slowly learned that real justice has to be something more than just hurting back. It's about finding a way to truly heal, to stop the ripples, and to try and make things better for everyone, not just for the one who got even. The idea that people never really change. Have you ever looked at someone, maybe a friend or even yourself, and thought, they'll never change? It's a powerful idea, isn't it? This thought, that what's deep inside us, our true nature or our worst habits, is set in stone forever. It whispers to us that the kid who always got into trouble will always be trouble, or the quiet person will always stay hidden in their shell. For a long time, across different cultures, people believed in something similar. Ancient thinkers sometimes talked about human character as if it were a fixed mold, shaped early on and then unchangeable, like a river cutting its path through rock. Once the course is set, it seems impossible to divert. This belief can feel heavy, sometimes comforting, sometimes deeply sad. If someone makes a big mistake, this idea says they're stuck with it, and so are we if we want to become better versions of ourselves. But here's the thing. Think about a tree. When it's a sapling, it bends easily. As it grows, it becomes strong and sturdy. But even then, it keeps growing, adapting to the wind, reaching for the sun. It might lose leaves in winter, then bloom in spring. Or think about a skill you learned, like playing a musical instrument or coding. At first, it's hard, and you make many mistakes. It might feel like you'll never get it right. But with practice, with effort, you slowly, sometimes suddenly, get better. Your brain actually changes, creating new pathways. That's a real, physical change. So, is it really true that people never change? Maybe it's not about becoming an entirely different person, but about growth. It's about learning, healing, and choosing a different path day after day. It suggests that even when things feel set, there's always a quiet possibility, a gentle hope, that we can evolve, that our story isn't finished yet. And that's a thought worth holding on to. A belief that opens up new possibilities for everyone. How fear was used to control people. How often do we feel that cold, not in our stomach, that sudden chill when something scares us? Fear is a powerful feeling, right? It makes us want to run, to hide, to avoid danger. But here's the thing. That very power, that urge to protect ourselves, can be twisted. Think about history. People in power saw how strong fear is. If they made people afraid of something, an enemy, a new idea, or a different group, they could guide actions. They made people follow rules they might not otherwise, or believe things not quite true. Sometimes it started small, with worries, but soon fear became a tool, a way to keep things in order, or to gain more power. Here's an example you might get. Imagine a school rumor. If you don't join this club, you won't get good grades, and everyone will think you're uncool. That's not true. But the fear of being left out can push students to join. Or think about scary health warnings on social media that aren't real, but they make people panic and share them, changing actions. It's like our brain's alarm, meant to keep us safe from a real fire, getting tricked into screaming about a smoke machine. And that's why it matters to understand this. When we feel fear, it's a signal. But we have to learn to ask, is this fear real? Is it protecting me, or is someone else using it to guide me? Being aware of how fear can be used helps us stay true to ourselves, to think clearly even when our hearts are racing. It's about finding that quiet strength inside, the courage to look past the shadows and see the truth for ourselves, instead of letting fear decide our path. The lie that learning ended with school. Do you ever imagine school as a finish line, a place you finish, then stop learning? This idea that learning ends with a diploma is a powerful lie. Many believe their brain can finally rest after school. But here's the truth. Real learning, the kind that makes you grow, never actually stops. Long ago, before schools, people learned from life itself. Apprentices learned crafts for years by doing, watching, asking. They mastered skills, then kept refining them for life. Ancient philosophers like Socrates spent lives in deep thought, always questioning. The world was their classroom. Think of riding a bike. You don't stop after the first wobbly ride. You keep practicing, getting smoother, exploring new paths. Or a chef. They keep trying new ingredients even after culinary school. They experiment, taste, and grow. It's the same for us. Believing learning ends with school closes a part of us. It limits curiosity. The world keeps changing, keeps offering new wonders. To stop learning is to miss out on so much. Our minds are built for discovery, meant to keep exploring. Life itself is the greatest classroom, with lessons waiting every day. Staying open to that is a quiet, beautiful journey that never truly ends. Thinking wealth was proof of goodness. Have you ever looked at someone with a lot of money, a big house, and fancy things, and wondered if they were just better? Like, did they earn all that because they're especially good people, or smarter, or somehow more deserving? This feeling, this thought, is a very old one. For a long time, in different parts of history, people believed that if you were rich, it meant you were truly blessed, maybe even by God or the universe. It was seen as proof that you were virtuous, that you lived a good life, and so, you were rewarded. And here's the problem. If wealth meant goodness, then what did being poor mean? It often meant you were seen as less worthy, perhaps even punished for some unseen flaw. This idea wasn't just about money. It was about judging a person's entire worth based on their bank account. Think about it like this. Imagine you're watching a talent show. Someone sings a perfect song and wins first place. Does that automatically mean they are the kindest, most honest person backstage? No, right. It just means they're good at singing. Wealth works the same way. It tells us about someone's financial situation, maybe their business smarts, or even just plain luck. But it doesn't tell us about their character, their kindness, or how they treat others. This way of thinking, this philosophical error, has led to so much unfairness. It made societies look down on the struggling, believing they somehow deserved their difficulties, and it often let the truly powerful, who sometimes gained wealth unfairly, feel justified in their actions. It makes us forget that true worth isn't measured by what you have in your pockets, but by what you carry in your heart. We learn that judging people by their money hides the real story of who they are and what truly matters in life. The mistake of not valuing nature. Have you ever walked through a quiet forest or stood by the ocean, feeling a deep, calming peace? That feeling tells us we are part of something immense. But for a long time, many people made a big mistake. They forgot to truly value nature. They saw it mostly as a tool, a giant storehouse of resources just for us to take. This way of thinking became common a few hundred years ago. With new machines and cities, it felt like humans were separate from the natural world. We began to see forests as just timber, rivers as places to dump waste, and land as property. Our focus became what nature could give us, not what it is or what it teaches about life. Here's the thing, when you only see a forest as wood, you miss the quiet life humming inside. You miss how roots hold soil, stopping floods, and the clean air. It's like looking at your home and only seeing the bricks, forgetting the warmth and memories within. You might build something better, but you lose something truly priceless. This error, this quiet forgetting, has led to huge problems for our planet. We've harmed the very systems that keep us alive, the air, water, soil. When we ignore nature, we lose a part of ourselves. We miss out on wonder, on connection, on the deep understanding that we are all woven into life's fabric. So, here's what happened. We built amazing things, but sometimes we broke beautiful, essential things. We forgot that nature isn't just out there. It's a vital part of us. To truly understand our place, we need to remember how much the world around us truly matters. Seeing the deep value in every leaf, every drop of water, that's a wisdom we need to reclaim. When power only served itself, have you ever felt like someone in charge wasn't really thinking about you? Maybe a group leader who just wanted things their way. It's a feeling that goes way back, and it's called power serving itself. This happens when people with great power forget who they're supposed to be helping. Instead, they use their position for their own gain, maybe more wealth, more control, or just to feel important. Imagine a government, or even a king, whose job is to protect and care for its people. But what if that king made rules only to get richer, or to keep others from challenging him? That's what we mean. Historically, this caused huge problems. Think about ancient empires where emperors built massive palaces and lived in luxury, while ordinary people struggled. Or leaders who started wars not for defense, but to grab more land and boost their own glory. These decisions didn't come from a place of public good. They came from a desire for personal power. Here's the thing, true power, the kind that helps, is like the roots of a strong, healthy tree. It should give nutrients and stability to the whole tree, the branches, the leaves, the fruit, which are like the people it serves. But when power only serves itself, it's like a root that takes all the water and food for itself, leaving the rest of the tree weak and dying. It starves the very thing it's supposed to support. This isn't just about ancient kings, though. Even today, we see smaller versions of it. Maybe a school club leader who only picks their friends for important roles, even if others are more qualified, or a company CEO who makes decisions that help their own wallet, but hurt their employees. When power forgets its purpose and only looks inward, it creates a deep emptiness. It erodes trust, and that's why it matters. It teaches us that true strength isn't about how much you take, but about how much you give and protect. It's a quiet reminder that those who lead should always remember who they serve and why. The error of ignoring other cultures. Have you ever felt a quiet wonder about how many different kinds of stories fill our world, beyond the ones you hear every day? This feeling of curiosity is the opposite of a profound mistake humanity has often made, the error of ignoring other cultures. It's when we, as individuals or whole societies, decide that our ways, our beliefs, our understanding of life, are the only ones that truly count. For ages, this error has deeply shaped our civilization, and almost always for the worse. Powerful groups, whether ancient empires or more modern nations, often believed their wisdom was superior. They didn't truly listen or seek to understand the people they met, especially those with different languages or traditions. Think of how much knowledge was lost, how many brilliant insights into medicine, art, or justice from faraway lands were simply brushed aside. They were seen as other, and therefore less valuable. Here's the thing, it's a bit like trying to solve a vast, beautiful puzzle, but you only ever look at the pieces from your own small box. You might finish a tiny corner, but you'll never glimpse the whole magnificent picture, never connect all the vibrant colors and unique shapes that complete it. And that's why this error matters so deeply, in a quiet, important way. When we close our minds and hearts to other cultures, we don't just miss out on incredible inventions or new forms of art. We miss out on understanding the vast, incredible spectrum of what it means to be human. We miss chances to learn deeper empathy, to see struggles and joys that are both unique and profoundly similar to our own. It keeps our own hearts and minds small when they could be expansive, brimming with understanding. It means choosing to live in a less colorful, less wise, and ultimately, a less hopeful world. When a universe of shared wisdom and warmth is waiting for us, just beyond that door we hesitate to open, believing that logic solved everything. Have you ever wondered if there are some things, deep down, that pure logic just can't touch? For a long time, some really smart people believed that if we just thought clearly enough, used perfect reason, we could solve every problem in the world. They felt logic was like a powerful, shining key that would unlock all truths. From how the stars move to how societies should be built, it was a beautiful idea, full of hope, that thinking hard and smart could fix everything that was broken in our lives and in civilization. This way of thinking, called the Enlightenment, was amazing in many ways. It helped us understand science, build better laws, and challenged old, unfair ideas. But here's the thing, while logic is a brilliant tool, it's not the only tool we have. People started to believe it was the only thing that mattered, pushing aside feelings, instincts, and even things that just felt right, even if they couldn't be perfectly proven. They forgot that humans aren't just walking brains, we're also hearts, spirits, and messy, wonderful collections of emotions. Think about trying to explain why your favorite song makes you feel a certain way. You can logically break down the notes, the rhythm, the lyrics, but can logic explain the shiver you get, the memories it brings back, or the deep, happy ache in your chest? No, that part isn't logical. It's deeply human. Or imagine a friend is sad, and you just list all the logical reasons why they shouldn't be. That doesn't help. It misses the actual feeling. So, here's what happened. By over-relying on logic, we sometimes lost touch with the deeper, more complex parts of ourselves and others. We began to ignore the whispers of intuition, the power of compassion, and the mysteries of beauty that don't fit into a tidy logical box. Logic lights a path, but it doesn't show us all the stars, or the quiet magic in the shadows. We need reason, absolutely, but we also need the wisdom that comes from our feelings, our hearts, and all the things that make us more than just calculating machines. It's about seeing the whole picture, not just the logical lines. The idea that humans were just machines. Have you ever stopped to wonder what makes you, you? Is it just your brain sending signals, your heart pumping blood, your muscles moving, or is there something more? For a long time, some very smart people started to think that maybe we weren't so different from the fancy new machines being invented. This was back when clocks, with intricate gears, and early automatons like mechanical dolls that could write or play music amazed everyone. People looked at these clever devices and thought, hey, our bodies move with levers and pulleys too. Our brains process information like a complex machine. Here's the thing. This idea suggested that all our feelings, our dreams, our creativity, our very souls, could just be a result of tiny mechanical parts working together. Imagine your favorite video game character. It moves, it reacts, it even seems to have emotions sometimes. But we know it's just code and programming, right? This old philosophical idea was like saying we are just much more complicated versions of that game character. Every tear you cry, every laugh you share, every deep thought you have, just the gears turning. And that's why it matters. If we're just machines, then where does free will fit in? Do we truly make choices, or are we just following a program? This thought can feel a bit cold, can't it? It strips away some of the wonder, some of the magic of being alive. It makes you wonder if your hopes and fears are just electrical impulses without a deeper meaning. But here's what I found. While our bodies are indeed amazing biological machines, that doesn't mean we are just machines. Maybe the most beautiful part of us is the mystery that remains, the spark that feels like more than just moving parts. It's what makes us feel, create, and connect. That feeling, that inner world, is harder to put a finger on than any gear or circuit. Why, asking why, was often punished. Have you ever wondered why? Sometimes, just being curious feels a little bit risky, like when you ask too many questions and grown-ups get quiet or annoyed. For a very long time, asking why wasn't just annoying, it was a serious problem. Imagine a world where beliefs, often involving gods, powerful rulers, or old traditions, were decided long ago. People held on to them for order and safety. To question them felt like shaking the ground everyone stood on, like saying, maybe everything we know is wrong. This made leaders, and even the crowd, very uncomfortable. Think about ancient societies. If a priest said the sun was a god, or a king claimed his power came from heaven, asking why is that true wasn't a simple question. It directly challenged authority. People who dared to think differently often faced harsh consequences, exile, silence, or worse. The goal was to keep everyone believing the same thing, to maintain control. New ideas were scary. They could disrupt peace, even if that peace was built on shaky ground. It's kind of like being in a class where everyone always did a project one way. Then you suggest a new method. Some might get excited, but others, used to the old way, might get defensive. But we've always done it this way. They might say, your question, even about making things better, can feel like criticizing the whole system. It takes real courage to ask, is there another way? So, while asking why seems natural now, this simple act of curiosity has a deep, sometimes painful, history. It reminds us that every time we dare to look closer, to question what's handed down, we are stepping onto a path brave souls walked before us, and in doing so, we help move the world forward, often towards a truer understanding. The danger of following orders without thinking. Have you ever done something just because someone told you to, without stopping to think if it was right? Maybe a friend dared you, or an instruction felt a little off, but you went along. Here's the thing. History shows this kind of blind obedience can lead to big problems, even terrible situations. Think about it. We're taught to listen to authority. Parents, teachers, police. That's usually good. It helps us live together. But what happens when an order is wrong, unfair, or harmful? That's where the real danger lies. When we stop using our own judgment, we give away a part of ourselves. We lose our way, unsure if our choices are truly our own. Some of the darkest times in history happened because many people simply followed orders. They didn't ask questions. They didn't speak up. They put their own sense of right and wrong on hold. This shows how ordinary people can do terrible things by just going along with what they are told. Imagine you're on a group project. Someone suggests using ideas from online without credit. Everyone else agrees. If you just go along, even if your gut tells you it's wrong, you're following orders without thinking. You're giving up your own idea of what's fair and honest, just to fit in or avoid trouble. So, here's what really matters. Always keep your inner voice awake. Ask questions. Speak up when something doesn't feel right. This isn't about being rude. It's about owning your choices, understanding what your actions mean, and standing strong in what you believe is good and true. Your own conscience is the most important guide, even when others try to tell you what to do. When goodness was only about rules, not heart. Have you ever wondered if there's a difference between just following the rules and actually being good? For a long, long time, civilization made a big mistake here. People thought that being good meant simply ticking boxes. You followed the laws, you obeyed traditions, you did what you were told. It wasn't about why you did it, or how you felt inside. It was just about the outward action, like a robot programmed to do certain things. Think about it. Imagine a world where people felt they were good because they never stole, never lied, never broke a single rule. But deep down, they didn't care about others. They didn't feel empathy for someone hurting. They didn't act out of kindness, but out of fear of punishment, or just because that's the rule. This way of thinking missed something huge: the heart. Some ancient societies, and even certain moments in history, built their whole idea of right and wrong on this strict, rule-based thinking. Laws were often very detailed, telling people exactly what to do and what not to do. And that's useful, of course, because rules keep society from falling apart. But here's the thing: when the rules become everything, and the feeling behind them becomes nothing, that's where the error creeps in. It's like having a school policy that says, always return library books on time. A student might always do that, never getting a late fee. But what if they see a classmate struggling with a project, and that classmate desperately needs that very book for one more day? If the rule follower just returns it without a second thought, because rules are rules, they're missing the deeper goodness. They're missing compassion. This idea that goodness is just about a checklist kept people from truly connecting. It led to a colder world, where legal correctness sometimes trumped human kindness. And that's why it matters. Because true goodness, real goodness, isn't just about what you do. It's about how your heart guides those actions. It's about feeling, about caring, about choosing kindness even when the rule book doesn't specifically demand it. It's about understanding the spirit of goodness, not just the letter of the law. The lie that suffering makes you stronger. Have you ever heard someone say that suffering makes you stronger, or that you just need to tough it out to really grow? It's a common idea, one we often see in movies and hear from grown-ups. It sounds like a powerful lesson, right? Like struggle is always a good thing, a secret ingredient for strength. But here's the thing, that's not always true. This idea, that pain alone builds us up, is one of those big philosophical errors we need to look at. Sometimes, suffering just hurts. It can wear you down, leave scars, and make it harder to trust, harder to feel hopeful. When pain is too much, too long, or too sudden, it doesn't automatically create strength. Instead, it can break things. It can stop growth, not cause it. For a long time, people believed in this idea. Ancient philosophers often talked about facing hardships to build character. Many religions have stories of saints who endured immense pain and became more pure, more wise. It made sense in a world where suffering was unavoidable. They thought that if you pushed through it, you'd emerge a better person. Think about a plant. A plant needs sunlight, water, and good soil to grow strong. If you put it in a dark closet, or give it too much water, or let it get battered by constant storms. It doesn't get stronger from the hardship. It wilts, it struggles, it might even die. It might survive, but it will be damaged. True growth for a plant comes from supportive conditions, not just from surviving constant attacks. Our emotional and mental selves are similar. We grow strongest when we have support, care, and a chance to heal, not when we're constantly under stress. So, the real strength isn't just about how much pain you can take. It's about how you heal, how you learn to be kind to yourself, and how you find connections with others who can offer comfort and help. It's about building a life where you have the resources to recover, not just proving you can survive endless challenges. Sometimes, the bravest thing you can do is admit you're not okay and reach out for gentle support, letting yourself truly heal. Thinking that everything was a competition, have you ever felt a quiet pressure, deep down, like you constantly need to be better than everyone else? In school, with friends, or just in your own mind? For a long time, many people in history, and even some big thinkers, believed this was just how life worked. They thought the world was always a battle, where only the strongest would survive. This idea suggested that for one person to win, another had to lose. You had to fight for your peace. This way of thinking, that everything is a competition, has shaped how we build societies, how we learn, and how we see ourselves. Think about it like this. Imagine a team building a giant, intricate sandcastle on the beach. If every single person on the team only cared about making their own turrets taller or their own walls stronger, trying to outshine the others, what would happen? The castle would probably fall apart. It would look messy and weak. The joy of building something together would be lost. But here's the thing. What if the real strength, the true progress, comes not from pushing others down, but from lifting each other up? What if the world isn't a zero-sum game, where someone's gain always means someone else's loss? This old idea of constant competition often blinds us to the power of working together, sharing knowledge, and finding common ground. It makes us build walls instead of bridges. When we let go of that intense need to always win, we open ourselves to a different kind of strength. It's a quieter power, found in empathy, cooperation, and creating beauty not just for ourselves, but for everyone. Maybe the biggest, most lasting achievements aren't about being first, but about building something magnificent, together, that benefits us all. It's a peaceful thought, isn't it? To imagine a world where shared efforts build a better future, instead of just competing for a small piece of the present. The mistake of trusting only what you see. Have you ever looked at something and been absolutely sure of what it was, only to find out later you were wrong? It happens, right? Our eyes are amazing, but sometimes they can play tricks on us. For centuries, people made a big mistake by trusting only what their eyes told them, especially about the world around them. Back in ancient times, it really looked like the sun moved across the sky every day, circling our Earth. Anyone could see it. So, a wise man named Ptolemy, many years ago, built a whole system of how the universe worked based on this idea. It was called the geocentric model, meaning Earth was the center. And for over 1,000 years, almost everyone believed him. Why? Because that's what it looked like. But here's the thing. Just because something seems obvious doesn't make it true. Later, thinkers like Copernicus and Galileo dared to look beyond what they saw. They used math and new ways of observing to show that actually, the Earth revolves around the sun. It changed everything. Their ideas were so hard for people to accept because it went against what everyone could see with their own eyes every single day. Don't think about a simple magic trick. A magician makes a coin disappear. You saw it vanish. Your eyes told you it was gone. But you know it's just a trick, right? The coin is still there, just hidden from your view. Our minds can be fooled by appearances, just like our eyes. So, here's what I found. It's not enough to just see. We have to question, to think, to look deeper. We need to remember that what's truly real might be hidden, waiting for us to uncover it. It takes courage to trust something beyond what's right in front of us. And that's how we grow, by learning to see with more than just our eyes. When heroes were never allowed to be wrong, have you ever thought about how hard it is to admit when someone you really admire makes a mistake? It's like, once they're a hero in your mind, they can do no wrong. For a long time, in history, it was even harder. People often believed that great leaders, wise thinkers, or even figures in old stories were perfect. Their ideas were seen as absolute truth, like laws of nature. And here's the thing, when we put someone on such a high pedestal, we make it almost impossible to question them. We don't see their flaws. We might even ignore evidence that shows they messed up. This isn't just about disrespect, it's about holding back progress. If we can't look clearly at mistakes, we can't learn from them. Think about how ancient societies sometimes viewed their rulers or holy people. Their words were law, their wisdom unquestionable. Or imagine early scientists. Someone like Ptolemy, a brilliant ancient astronomer, believed the Earth was the center of the universe. This was the accepted truth for over 1,400 years. His followers, honoring his genius, held on to this idea very tightly. It was a massive philosophical error, but because a respected figure proposed it, it became incredibly hard to challenge. This can help you understand it better. Imagine you have a favorite basketball player. They're amazing, a legend. One day, they say something that sounds a bit unfair, or they make a decision on the court that clearly isn't smart. Your first reaction might be to defend them, right? To say, oh, they must have meant something else, or it was just a bad day. We want our heroes to stay perfect, but sometimes, even heroes make bad calls, and that's why it matters. Real wisdom often comes from being brave enough to look at everyone, even the most brilliant people, as human. It means accepting that even great minds can be wrong. This allows us to move forward, to build new knowledge, and to truly understand the world without the heavy shadow of old, unquestioned errors. It helps us grow. The error of not planning for the future. Have you ever thought about what tomorrow will bring? Not in a fortune-telling way, but just that today's choices shape what happens next. So often, we get caught up in the now. We only see what's right in front of us. This way of thinking, not planning for the future, has quietly changed the world in powerful, sometimes heartbreaking ways. Imagine an ancient civilization on fertile land. People live happily, growing crops, but maybe they don't think about what happens if the rains stop, or if they cut down all the trees for building. They focus only on the present harvest. Then, one season, the rain doesn't come. The soil turns to dust. Without a plan for drought or managing water, their vibrant society starts to crack, their homes empty. This isn't just a story. Historians believe some great societies, like parts of the Maya civilization, faced struggles like this. They didn't always foresee environmental changes or manage resources long term. Their focus on the immediate made them vulnerable to the future's harsh truths. Here's an example. Think about your school projects. If you wait until the last minute, only focusing on what feels good right now, playing games or hanging out, you're not planning for that future deadline. When that day arrives, you feel stressed, rushed, and the work might not be your best. That feeling of regret, that's what happens when we don't look ahead. This era isn't about being perfect. It's about taking a moment to consider the path ahead, to think about the ripples our actions make. When we ignore what might come, we can bring unnecessary struggle into our lives, and even to others. But when we pause, even for a moment, and try to imagine tomorrow, we start to build a stronger, kinder world for ourselves and for those who will follow. It's a quiet understanding that the future isn't just something that happens. It's something we help create, one thoughtful step at a time. Believing that fate was always cruel, have you ever felt like the world was just against you, like things were designed to go wrong? It's a heavy, crushing feeling, isn't it? For a long time, people believed that fate, the powerful, unseen force that supposedly controls everything, was always cruel. They thought fate loved to cause suffering, making human lives difficult, and that there was nothing anyone could do about it. Imagine living thousands of years ago. A family's crops might fail. A sudden, terrible sickness could take someone beloved. A storm might wipe out an entire village. Without science, it felt like an uncaring power was punishing them. Ancient stories told of gods who toyed with destiny, pushing people into pain. This belief made people feel utterly helpless. They sometimes gave up, thinking it was all meant to be, and often meant to be meant hardship. Think about trying hard at a new skill. Maybe you practice, but you keep making frustrating mistakes. It's easy to get discouraged and think, I'm just not meant to be good at this, or my luck is always bad. But here's the thing, those mistakes aren't always fate being mean. Often, they're just part of the journey. They show you where to try a different way, or push harder next time. They are lessons, not punishments. This old way of thinking, that life's path is only pain, kept many from trying to change things. It stopped them from seeking solutions or finding inner strength. Life isn't just cruel blows from destiny. Yes, hard times happen, and they can feel unfair, but they are not always punishments. Sometimes, they're just challenges. They can be chances to grow, to learn, to find courage you didn't know you had. We choose how we react, even when things seem dark. And that's why it matters. Believing fate is only cruel can blind us to all the good we can still build, and the strength we hold. The idea that knowledge belonged to a few. Have you ever stopped to think about who decides what we get to learn? For a long time, in human history, the idea was that knowledge wasn't for everyone. It was like a secret treasure, meant only for certain people. Imagine living where only priests could read, or only rulers had maps. This wasn't a small problem. It was a deep error that shaped entire civilizations. Back in ancient times, information was often handwritten. Making copies was hard work. So, learning was often limited to a few powerful groups, scribes, religious leaders, or wealthy families. They kept records, understood complex ideas about the stars, or knew how to heal the sick. Most people simply didn't get a chance to learn these things. Their minds, full of potential, were often left in the dark. Here's the thing. Keeping knowledge locked up wasn't just unfair. It slowed everything down. Think of a chef who keeps their best recipe a complete secret. Only they can make the dish. If they share it, many more can enjoy it, and maybe even improve it. That's a bit like knowledge. When only a few held the keys, new ideas didn't spread, and solutions to big problems came very slowly. People couldn't question things or come up with new ways of thinking. It took hundreds of years, and the invention of the printing press, to really start changing this. Books could be made faster and cheaper. More people could learn to read, and more ideas could spread. Think about that quiet shift, from a world where only a select few had light, to one where the light could begin to reach everyone. And that's why it matters today. We have so much knowledge at our fingertips. It's a gift, and a responsibility, to keep that light shining for all. How being different became a threat. Have you ever wondered why we sometimes feel uneasy around people who are just different? Maybe they talk differently, like different things, or see the world in a way you don't expect. It's a feeling almost as old as humanity itself. For a long time, one of our biggest errors was believing that different automatically meant dangerous. Imagine early humans, huddled together in small tribes. Their survival depended on everyone being pretty much the same. Same rules, same hunting methods, same warnings about danger. If someone acted too differently, or a stranger appeared, it meant uncertainty. And in a world full of real threats, uncertainty felt like a threat too. So, a powerful idea took root. Those who were not like us could harm us. This ancient fear followed us through history. It showed up when people with different religions were persecuted. It appeared when scientists with new ideas were mocked or silenced. Here's the thing. Instead of seeing unique perspectives as a chance to grow, we often saw them as a challenge to our own way of life. It's like when a new student joins your class. They might have a cool hobby, or a funny way of saying things. For a moment, some might feel a bit wary, just because it's new. But then, you get to know them, and you realize their differences can make the group more interesting, more creative. But too often, that first moment of wariness never changed. We held on to that old fear, building walls of suspicion between people, between nations, between ways of thinking. We lost out on so much understanding, so many brilliant ideas, simply because we shut down anything that didn't fit our mold. And that's why it matters. This philosophical error, this fear of difference, has caused so much pain and stopped so much progress. We forget that the world is richer, not weaker, because of all the different shades it holds. The lie that life was just about work. Have you ever wondered if there's more to life than just getting things done? It can feel like we're always running, from school to homework, chores to practice. Often we're told our worth comes from how much we achieve, how busy we are. For a long time, humanity started believing this deeply, that our main purpose, our very reason for existing, was to work. This wasn't always the case. Ancient cultures often valued leisure. Thinking, reflection, and art were noble. But then came times when societies changed. Think about the Industrial Revolution. When factories popped up, the idea took hold that productivity was everything. If you weren't producing, you weren't contributing. This wasn't just about earning money. It became about defining who you were. It whispered that your value as a person was tied directly to your output, like a machine's. But here's the thing. A tree doesn't just produce fruit. It also stands tall, offers shade, and provides a home for birds. Its existence is valuable in itself, not just for what it creates. Imagine if a musician only practiced scales and never played a song from the heart, or if a painter only mixed colors. Life, like music or art, needs moments of creation, yes, but also moments of silence, of simply being. It needs time to breathe, to connect, to wonder. This lie told us to forget our inner worlds, our dreams, our joy outside of achievement. It dimmed the light on how important friendship, laughter, and quiet moments are. Realizing this error reminds us that our true worth isn't something we earn with endless tasks. It's something we possess just by being alive. So, it's okay to slow down, to rest, to simply exist, and appreciate the world around you. Your value isn't measured by a to-do list. It's in the unique person you are. Thinking we were separate from the earth, have you ever looked out a window at a forest, or a field, or even just the sky, and felt like you were watching a movie, like the trees and the clouds were out there, and you were safely in here? For a long, long time, many of us started to think that way about our planet. We began to believe we were somehow apart from the earth itself, not really a part of its living, breathing systems. Here's the thing. This idea that humans were special and separate came with big consequences. If the earth was just a resource, something to be used, then its health didn't feel like our direct responsibility. Ancient cultures often saw themselves as the land, their stories woven into the rivers and mountains. But over centuries, especially as humans built bigger cities and new technologies, a different story took hold. We saw ourselves as masters, standing above nature, not within it. Think about your own body. You don't see your lungs as separate from you, do you? Or your heart. They are part of you, keeping you alive. But what if you started treating your lungs like they were just a machine, something to use and ignore until it broke? That's kind of what we did with the earth. We forgot that the air we breathe, the water we drink, the food we eat, it all comes from this planet, and it is all connected to us. When we polluted a river, we weren't just polluting the river, we were polluting a part of our larger body, the one that gives us life. And here's what happened. Slowly, the signs started showing. The air felt heavier, the weather grew wilder, the plants struggled. Because when you hurt one part of a connected system, every other part feels it too. It's a quiet, deep sadness to realize we made such a mistake. But here's what I found. It's also a chance to remember, to look at a tree and know that the same life force that flows through its leaves also moves within us. We are not just on the earth, we are the earth, in a very real and beautiful way. And understanding that can change everything. It can help us heal, not just the planet, but ourselves too. We just need to remember our place, gently, thoughtfully, as part of this grand, living whole. The mistake of believing in perfect leaders. Have you ever looked up to someone so much, someone you admired, believing they held all the answers? It's a comforting thought, isn't it? To imagine a perfect leader, someone who sees everything clearly, makes no errors, and always knows the right path. But this belief, that anyone can be flawlessly good or perfectly wise, is a deep mistake humanity has made again and again. For centuries, people placed kings, emperors, or great thinkers on towering pedestals. Their words were law, their decisions often unquestioned. But history shows a different truth. Even those whose names echo through time, who built empires or inspired movements, were deeply human. They made brilliant choices, yes, but also ones that caused pain, division, or ruin. Their shining moments were often shadowed by human weaknesses, sometimes hidden, sometimes painfully obvious. Think about a favorite movie director or a sports star you really admire. You see their incredible talent, the amazing things they achieve. It feels like magic. But then, sometimes, you hear about a mistake they made, or a choice that wasn't so great. That feeling of disappointment, it's a quiet reminder, no matter how much light someone shines, they carry shadows too, just like all of us. No human can escape being human. Understanding this isn't about being cynical or losing hope. It's about seeing the world more clearly, more kindly. When we accept that everyone, even those we admire most, is a mix of strengths and weaknesses, we learn something profound. We stop searching for a perfect savior. Instead, we appreciate the real, flawed efforts of everyone. It encourages us to find the good, to learn from mistakes, and to build a better path together. True progress comes from many imperfect hands, working towards a shared dream, not from one faultless guide. When compassion was seen as weak, have you ever felt like showing you really care, deeply, might make you look less tough? For a long time, in history, Many people believed compassion feeling for others' pain was a weakness. It was seen as soft, not strong, like a chink in your armor, a vulnerability. They thought true strength meant being tough, not letting emotions show, especially not kindness or pity. Think about ancient societies. The Spartans, for instance, their whole world was built on strength, discipline, and war. Emotions, especially tenderness, were often pushed down because they might hesitate a fighter. Or consider the Roman Empire, where gladiators fought for entertainment. A crowd's call for mercy wasn't always given. The idea was, if you were truly strong, you didn't need to feel for the unlucky or defeated. Some thinkers even argued emotions clouded judgment. A truly rational person, they felt, wouldn't let pity guide their actions, as it might lead to imperfect decisions. It's like playing a competitive team sport. If you stopped to help an opponent who tripped, your own team might get upset. They could see that kindness as distracting, as a weakness that makes you lose focus. Or a coach avoiding showing sadness, thinking it makes them look less in control, less powerful. But here's the thing. Over time, we've learned true strength isn't just toughness. It's also the courage to feel, connect, and understand others. Real leadership often comes from deep empathy, not just commanding. When we show compassion, we're not losing strength. We're finding a deeper, more resilient power. A power that builds trust and connection, not just conquers. It teaches us that caring doesn't make you fragile. It makes you human, and sometimes that's the strongest thing you can be. The error of fighting over words, not ideas. Have you ever argued with someone, only to realize later you both basically believed the same thing? It happens more often than you think. Sometimes, our biggest fights aren't about different ideas at all. They're just about the words we choose to describe those ideas. Here's the thing. Words are powerful, but they're just tools. They carry meaning, yes, but the true treasure is the meaning itself, the actual idea. When we get stuck on the words, we can miss the core message. It's like arguing over whether to call a dog a canine when you both love the same furry friend. The idea hasn't changed. This isn't a new problem. Think about history. Many ancient philosophers spent years debating concepts that, from a distance, seem incredibly similar. They used different languages, different traditions. Often, arguments came down to slightly different ways of saying the same fundamental truth. Even in big historical conflicts, the real disagreement was sometimes hidden in specific terms. People lost their lives, not because their deepest beliefs clashed, but because they couldn't agree on how to talk about them. Imagine you're working on a school project with a group. One person says, "We need to collaborate more." Another says, "We should really combine our efforts." A third says, "Let's all work together." They might start arguing about whose wording is better, or if collaborate means something different from combine efforts. But deep down, everyone wants the same thing, for the group to share work and finish the project. The idea of teamwork is agreed upon, but the words create a fuss. It's a strange human habit, isn't it, to get so caught up in the wrapping paper that we forget the gift inside. So, maybe the next time you feel a disagreement brewing, take a breath. Ask yourself, are we truly fighting about different ideas, or just different ways of saying the same thing? Seeking the shared idea, the common ground, can melt away so many pointless arguments. It helps us connect, not divide. That's why it matters. Believing that history was always right. Have you ever stopped to wonder if the stories we tell ourselves about the past are always completely true? We read history books, and we learn about heroes and villains, battles and discoveries. And for a long time, people just accepted these tales as solid, unchanging facts. It was a common, silent agreement. What was written was right. This belief, that history was a flawless record, was a powerful mistake that shaped civilizations. Here's the thing. History isn't just a list of events. It's a story told by people, and people, even smart ones, have feelings, beliefs, and blind spots. They decide what to write down, what to remember, and what to leave out. Think about a family story passed down through generations. Maybe your grandma tells it one way, full of warmth, but your grandpa remembers it with a bit more seriousness. Both are honest, but their perspectives change the story. For centuries, this was how history worked on a grand scale. The victors, the powerful, the people in charge, were usually the ones writing the narratives. They often made themselves look good, and their opponents look bad. Important voices were silenced, forgotten, or simply never recorded. This meant that whole groups of people, their experiences and struggles, were erased from the official story. Societies then made huge decisions based on these incomplete or biased accounts, thinking they had the full picture. Imagine your favorite band. If only one member wrote down the band's entire journey, would that be the full story? What about the other members? What about the audience? Or think about a science experiment. Scientists share their results, but then other scientists try to repeat it, test it, and sometimes even challenge it. That's how we get closer to a fuller truth. History needs that same kind of careful, questioning eye. So, this isn't about saying history is fake. It's about seeing it as a puzzle with many missing pieces. We learn to look at the past with curiosity, asking whose story is this, and who isn't being heard. It's a quiet, important shift in thinking. Understanding that history isn't always right helps us be more thoughtful today, more open to different voices, and less likely to repeat the hidden errors of the past. The idea that freedom meant no responsibilities. Have you ever really thought about what it means to be free? Sometimes we hear that word, freedom, and our minds jump straight to doing whatever we want, whenever we want. No rules, no limits, just pure, unbridled choice. But here's the thing, that idea, that freedom means no responsibilities, has led to some pretty big mistakes throughout history. It's a tricky thought, one that sounds good at first, but it often brings more sadness than true liberation. Imagine a world where everyone believed this. If freedom meant no duties, then people would take what they wanted, ignore others' feelings, and break promises without a second thought. For a long time, some leaders and even regular people have misused the idea of freedom. They'd claim they were free to exploit others, or free to ignore the well-being of their communities, all in the name of personal choice. They forgot that true freedom isn't about escaping consequences. It's about making choices knowing there are consequences and accepting them. They didn't see that a society built on pure individual, anything goes quickly falls apart, hurting everyone, especially the most vulnerable. Think about driving a car. You have the freedom to drive almost anywhere. That feels amazing, right? But that freedom comes with huge responsibilities. You have to follow traffic laws, use your blinker, stay sober, and pay attention. If you think your freedom means you can ignore stop signs or speed through a school zone, you're not just being free, you're being dangerous. You're putting yourself and others at risk. Your choice to ignore the rules doesn't make you freer. It makes you a hazard, and it can lead to losing your driving privilege entirely. The rules are there to keep everyone safe, to allow everyone the freedom to travel safely. So, what does this tell us? It tells us that real freedom isn't the absence of responsibility. Instead, it's about having the power to choose, but also understanding the weight of those choices. It's about owning your actions and contributing to a world where everyone can thrive. True freedom blooms not when we throw off all duties, but when we embrace the duties that protect and uplift our shared human experience. It's a quiet strength, a careful understanding that connects us, rather than tearing us apart. Why? It was hard to change your mind. Have you ever felt a tug inside you, a stubborn feeling, when someone told you something that went against what you deeply believed? It's not just about being right, it's about how our minds are wired. Here's the thing, our brains love consistency. They build pathways for ideas we accept, and once those paths are well worn, like a favorite trail in the woods, it takes a real effort to step off them and explore new ground. For hundreds of years, people truly believed the Earth was the center of the universe. The sun, moon, and stars all revolved around us. It felt right. It looked right. Think about it. You stand still, and the sun moves across the sky. So, when thinkers like Copernicus and Galileo suggested the Earth actually moved around the sun, many people resisted. It wasn't just a new fact. It challenged their entire way of seeing the world, their place in it. It was scary to question something so fundamental. It's a bit like when you've always done something one way. Maybe you always put your socks on before your shoes, and then someone suggests doing it the other way around. Even if there's no big reason for your habit, changing it feels off. Or maybe you've heard a story about someone, and you believe it. Later, new information comes out that changes the story completely. It's hard to let go of that first impression, right? We often look for reasons to keep believing what we already do, ignoring things that don't fit. This can help you understand why old errors stuck around for so long. Sometimes the hardest thing isn't learning something new, but unlearning something old. It takes a quiet courage, a gentle openness, to let go of an idea that might feel like a part of you, But here's what happens when you do. You make space for a bigger, clearer picture of the world, and that can be a truly wonderful feeling. The danger of too much certainty. Have you ever been so sure about something, so absolutely, completely certain, that you just couldn't imagine being wrong? That feeling can be powerful. It might feel like you hold the truth in your hands, firm and unmoving. But what if that very certainty is actually a kind of cage? What if being too sure locks us away from learning, from seeing the world in a new, more wonderful way? For hundreds of years, brilliant thinkers were absolutely convinced the Earth sat still, right at the center of the universe. The sun, the moon, the stars, they all revolved around us. It was so obvious. Everyone saw it happen every day. Anyone who dared to suggest otherwise, like brave Galileo, was met with doubt, even anger. Their firm belief, their deep certainty, made it incredibly hard for them to accept new evidence, new ideas, even when those ideas were correct. They closed their minds to a bigger, more beautiful truth simply because they were too sure they already knew it all. Think about something simple, like a puzzle. If you're positive a piece fits in one spot, even if it's clearly not quite right, you might force it, or just throw it aside. You won't look for the real spot, the perfect fit, because your mind is already made up. In life, it's the same. If we are completely sure we understand someone, or a situation, we stop truly listening. We stop asking questions. We stop trying to see things from a different point of view. And that can make us miss out on understanding, on connection, on real wisdom. It can even cause arguments or misunderstandings. Here's the thing. Real strength isn't in always knowing. It's in the courage to admit when you might not know. It's in the quiet wonder of an open mind, ready to learn something new, even if it challenges everything you thought you understood. Staying curious, always questioning, always open to being surprised. That's how we truly grow. That's how we keep the doors to discovery, to kindness, to a deeper, richer understanding of our world wide open. Because the universe is much too vast and mysterious for any one person to be absolutely certain about everything. And that's a beautiful thought. When technology was seen as a magic fix, have you ever thought that a brand new gadget or a cool app could instantly make your life perfect, like truly solve all your worries? For a long time, people sometimes felt this way about new technology. They believed that a clever invention, a new machine, or a scientific breakthrough would magically erase all the hard parts of being human. They imagined it would end hunger, stop wars, and make everyone happy forever. This idea popped up a lot during big changes in history. Think about when the printing press was invented. Suddenly, books could be made, fast and cheap. People thought, now everyone will be smart. There will be no more misunderstanding, no more ignorance. Or when steam engines came along, powering factories and trains, the hope was that these powerful new tools would bring endless abundance and peace. The error wasn't in the tech itself. It was in thinking that tech alone would fix everything. Here's the thing. Technology is amazing. It helps us do incredible stuff, but it's just a tool. It's like thinking a super fancy new backpack will automatically make you an A+ student. The backpack can carry your books, sure, and maybe even has a charger, but it won't do your homework for you. It won't teach you how to think. You still have to do the learning, the studying, the effort. So, the big mistake wasn't in creating great things. It was in giving these things too much power in our minds. We hoped they would solve the deepest human problems, the ones that really come from our choices, our feelings, and how we treat each other. Real change, lasting solutions, often need more than just a new piece of equipment. They need us to think differently, to act with more kindness, and to understand ourselves better. Technology can show us the way, but we are the ones who have to walk it. The lie that happiness was all that mattered. Have you ever felt like you had to be happy? Like if you weren't smiling, something was wrong with you or your life? Here's the thing. We often hear that happiness is the ultimate goal, that it's all that matters. But this idea, this relentless chase for only good feelings, can actually be a heavy burden. It's a powerful lie, telling us to avoid anything uncomfortable, anything that might challenge us or make us sad. And that's a problem, because life isn't always easy or joyful. For a long time, people understood that life was about more than just smiles. Ancient thinkers knew that true peace and a meaningful life came from things like courage, wisdom, and even facing hardship. They didn't just run from difficult emotions, but over time, especially in more recent history, we started to believe that every moment should be filled with cheer, We see images everywhere of perfectly happy people, and it makes us think we're failing if our own lives aren't like that. This can make us feel alone when we struggle. Think about learning a new skill, like playing a challenging song on an instrument or mastering a tough sport. When you're practicing, it's not always fun. Your fingers might hurt, you'll make mistakes, and you might even feel frustrated. You probably aren't happy in those exact moments, but if you keep going, if you push through that discomfort, something amazing happens. You learn, you grow, and then, when you finally play that song or make that perfect shot, the feeling you get is deeper than just happiness. It's pride, it's accomplishment, it's knowing you earned something truly worthwhile. So, here's what I found. Maybe true living isn't about avoiding sadness or pain, but learning to walk through them. Maybe our deepest growth happens when things are hard. It's in those moments that we build strength, learn compassion, and discover what truly matters to us. This can help you understand that a life full of meaning isn't always a life full of constant happiness, but a life rich in all human experiences, even the difficult ones, and that's what makes us truly human. Thinking that only big actions counted. Have you ever felt like what you do doesn't matter unless it's something huge? Like only big, dramatic moments or grand gestures truly change things? For a long time, many people, even smart thinkers, made a mistake. They believed that only massive events, wars, revolutions, inventions, changing everything overnight, were truly important. They thought big leaders, big speeches, or big discoveries were the only things that shaped the world. This idea made it easy to miss something huge, the quiet power of countless small actions, the tiny shifts that build up. It's like only noticing the giant waves crashing, but missing the constant, gentle tide that pulls and pushes daily. Thinkers in the past often wrote about kings and battles, grand ideas debated by famous philosophers. They recorded the big, obvious turning points, but they rarely talked about the thousands of farmers tilling fields, artisans perfecting their craft, parents teaching kindness, or quiet scientists making tiny observations. These small efforts, multiplied across generations, are actually civilization's bedrock. They're the steady hum beneath all the noise, and they matter so much. Here's the thing. Think about a huge forest. Did it just pop up one day? No. It started with one seed, then another, then countless tiny saplings slowly growing. Each raindrop, each ray of sun, each insect doing its job, contributes. You don't see one drop of water make a forest, but all of them together do. In your own life, studying for 5 minutes daily might not feel like a big deal, but those small moments, consistently done, build up to knowledge a single last-minute cram session can't match. So, here's what I found. Realizing this can help you feel less overwhelmed. It means your small acts of kindness, your daily effort to learn, your choice to be patient, they aren't wasted. They are essential building blocks. They add up, and that's why it matters. Every little bit of good, every tiny step forward, helps shape the world. Even if you can't see the whole forest yet. The mistake of ignoring our past. What if the greatest lessons we need are already written, not in a future yet to come, but in a past we often forget, or choose to look away from? Here's the thing. Ignoring our history isn't just about forgetting old dates or names. It's like walking blindfolded through a maze others have already navigated. We miss the clear warnings, hidden paths, and wisdom earned through struggles. Think about it. Generations before us faced big questions, made tough decisions, and sometimes stumbled badly. When we don't look back at their journey, we lose something vital. We lose the chance to learn from their triumphs and, more importantly, from their mistakes. Ancient thinkers from every corner of the world urged us to remember. They knew that understanding where we came from is the only way to truly know where we are going. Without that knowledge, our present feels disconnected, and our future might just be a repeat of old problems. It's a bit like someone trying to build a really tall tower without ever studying how other towers fell. They might think their way is new and unique, but they're likely to hit the same structural weak points everyone else did. Or, imagine you keep having the same argument with different friends, always ending up frustrated. If you never pause to think about what your part in those arguments might be, you'll just keep reliving that same conflict, over and over. That's the quiet danger of ignoring our past. Whether it's our own personal story or the grand story of all humanity, we keep bumping into the same walls, expecting a different outcome. But here's what happens when we do remember. The past isn't just a dusty old book. It's a living guide, a a quiet whisper that tells us what to hold on to and what to let go of. When we listen, truly listen, we honor the struggles of those who came before us. And that's how we build a future that's genuinely new, genuinely wise, not just a replayed echo of yesterday. When education was only for the rich, have you ever stopped to think about how amazing it is that you can learn right now, just by showing up? Imagine a time, not so long ago, when most kids your age wouldn't be sitting in a classroom, holding a book, or even knowing how to read. Here's the thing, for thousands of years, education was like a hidden treasure, guarded by the very wealthy. Only the richest families could afford tutors or send their children to schools. Everyone else, they worked, they toiled in fields, learned trades from their parents, or served others. Their minds, filled with potential, often went unexplored. This wasn't just unfair, it created a deep, sad era for civilization. If knowledge is power, then keeping most people from learning meant only a few held that power. They decided what was true, what was right, and what everyone else should believe. This kept old, sometimes harmful, ideas stuck for generations. New thoughts, new discoveries, new ways of looking at the world struggled to break through because most voices were silenced by a lack of education. Think of it like this. Imagine a team trying to solve a really hard puzzle, but only 2 or 3 players are allowed to see all the pieces. The rest of the team is just guessing in the dark. How many brilliant ideas were lost? How many cures for diseases went undiscovered because the minds capable of finding them never learned to read, never had a chance to wander beyond their daily tasks? And that's why it matters today. When only a few can learn, the world suffers. It loses out on countless inventions, stories, and insights. It's a quiet tragedy, a silent error, locking away potential. Today, we are so lucky that learning is a right, not a luxury. It means every single person has a chance to contribute, to question, and to build a better understanding of the world. For all of us, the era of believing in pure races. Have you ever wondered what truly makes you, you? Not just your personality, but your family's story, the places your ancestors came from. For a long time, some people believed in pure races. They thought certain groups were completely separate, never mixing for thousands of years. This imagined clear lines between people. But here's the thing, human history isn't like that. This idea of pure races is a profound error, one that caused immense pain and sadness. People used it to claim one group was better, to justify unfair treatment, or even terrible violence. It fed into the darkest parts of our past, building walls where bridges should have been, simply because of how someone looked. This created division and led to suffering. Think about a big, beautiful river. It doesn't begin from just one pure stream. Instead, countless smaller streams join it, each adding unique water and character. The river becomes richer, more powerful from all these different sources flowing together. Our human family is like that. Our ancestors moved across lands, met different people, fell in love, and built lives together. Every one of us is a beautiful blend, a living testament to thousands of years of human connection. We carry bits of everyone, from everywhere, inside us. So, when we let go of the idea of pure races, we see something wonderful. We understand our differences are not barriers, but rather the colors that make up humanity's diverse tapestry. It teaches us that we are all part of one big, shared story, constantly weaving new threads. It reminds us that our true strength comes from embracing our shared humanity and the rich mix that makes each of us unique and precious. We are not separate. We are beautifully connected. Believing that God willed all wars. Have you ever wondered about the deepest reasons for wars? Those terrible times when people fight. For centuries, a powerful idea shaped how people saw conflict. They believed that God, or a higher power, actually willed these wars to happen. It wasn't just human armies clashing, it was seen as part of a divine plan. It's a heavy thought, isn't it, to think such immense suffering was commanded from above. Here's the thing, this belief changed everything. If God truly wanted a war, who were humans to argue? It often made it easier for leaders to send soldiers into battle. They told them they were on a holy mission. This idea took away the awful weight of human choice and responsibility. It shifted blame from kings or common people, placing it on something unseen. Think of groups in history, like during the Crusades. People truly believed they fought for God's will, even when their actions brought much pain and destruction. Imagine you're playing a big game at school, and things get heated. Someone pushes another player, breaking a rule. If that person then said, well, the game made me push them, you wouldn't buy it, right? The game set the stage, but the player still chose to push. In the same way, saying God willed the war tries to make humans less responsible for their anger, greed, or hunger for power. It makes it seem like we have no control over violence, and that's why it matters. This belief can make us feel helpless. If wars are just God's will, what can we do to stop them? It means we might not try as hard to talk, to understand, or to make peace. But here's what I found. Realizing wars are human creations, born from our choices, mistakes and prejudices, also means peace can be a human creation. It tells us we have the power to choose kindness, seek understanding, and build a world where fighting isn't the only answer. That choice is ours. The idea that everyone should be happy all the time. Have you ever felt like you have to be happy? Like, all the time? It's almost like a rule these days, isn't it? Everywhere you look, people are smiling in pictures, sharing only their best moments. And then you might feel bad if you're not feeling that way. But here's the thing. This idea that we should always be happy can actually make us feel worse. It's a deep misunderstanding about what it means to be human. Think about it. Our feelings are like the weather. Some days are sunny and bright, full of warmth. Other days are cloudy, maybe rainy, or even stormy. Each type of weather has its own important part to play in nature. A constant sunny day would dry everything out. Nothing would grow. Ancient thinkers, people like the old Greek philosophers, understood this. They knew that life brought joy, but also sorrow, struggle, and peace. They didn't see sadness as a mistake, but as a part of the journey. They believed that truly understanding life meant feeling all of it. Imagine a really great movie or book. Would it be interesting if the main character was just happy all the time? No challenges, no sad moments, no doubts? Probably not. The story would be boring. It's the tough parts, the times when the hero faces a problem or feels lost, that make the happy ending feel so much more meaningful. Those difficult feelings give depth to the story, and to us so. Here's what I found. Expecting constant happiness is like expecting only sunny days. It's not how the world works, and it's not how our hearts work. Sadness, frustration, even anger, these aren't signs that something is wrong with you. Instead, they can be like signals, telling you what matters, what needs to change, or what you need to learn. Allowing ourselves to feel all our emotions, the good and the tough, helps us grow. Just like rain helps plants grow, it helps us understand ourselves and the world more deeply, making the times we are truly happy feel even richer. It's okay to just be, to feel whatever comes. How forgetting empathy led to cruelty. Have you ever wondered why some people can be so incredibly mean to others? It's a heavy question, and it has shaped history in painful ways. Here's the thing. Often, cruelty isn't born from some big evil plan. Instead, it comes from something simpler, something we sometimes just forget. Empathy. Empathy is like a superpower. It's the ability to step into someone else's shoes, to truly feel what they are feeling, even if you haven't been in their exact situation yourself. When a friend is sad, you feel a pang. When they're happy, you feel a little lift too. But what happens when we switch that power off, even for a moment? Throughout history, we see what happens when groups of people stopped seeing others as fully human, or decided they weren't worth understanding. Terrible things often followed. It wasn't always a conscious decision to be cruel. Instead, it was a slow forgetting, a gradual loss of connection. People stopped seeing another's pain as real, stopped hearing their cries as valid. It became easier to hurt someone when you couldn't connect with their hurt, when you forgot they felt it just like you would. Think about it like this. Imagine you're playing a video game, hitting a character on screen. You don't feel their pain because they're just pixels, not real. Now, imagine that character became a real person, right in front of you, looking at you with real tears. Would you still hit them? Probably not. That switch from game character to real, feeling person is what turning empathy back on feels like. In our own lives, when we tease someone or say something thoughtless, it's often because for a moment, we've forgotten what it feels like to be on the receiving end. We've temporarily lost that human connection. The philosophical error here isn't a complex puzzle. It's a simple, repeated human failure. The failure to remember that every person feels, hopes, and hurts just like you do. So, the real lesson isn't just about avoiding cruelty. It's about actively choosing to remember our shared humanity. It's about turning that superpower of empathy on every single day, in every interaction, Because when we do, we build a world where understanding and kindness can truly begin to grow. It's a choice we make, moment by moment. The lie that problems just disappear. Have you ever wished a tough situation would just vanish? Like if you closed your eyes tight, the difficult thing would be gone. It's a comforting thought, isn't it? This quiet hope that if we don't look at a problem, don't talk about it, just wait, it will somehow fade away. But here's the thing. Problems rarely disappear on their own. For a long time, people have tried this. Ancient kings sometimes ignored hungry people, hoping the unhappiness would just quiet down. Leaders have avoided tough decisions, thinking messy situations would resolve themselves. But what usually happened, the ignored whispers became shouts. Small cracks became huge divides. History shows turning away from a problem doesn't erase it. It often makes it grow, getting worse until it's too big to ignore. Think about something simple in your own life. Maybe you have a small cut, just a tiny scrape. You might think, oh, it's just a scratch, it'll heal. And maybe it will. But what if you ignore it completely? What if you don't clean it, or dirt gets into it? That tiny scratch, not taken care of, can get infected. It swells and hurts more. It takes longer to heal than if you had cleaned it right away. The small issue became a bigger, more painful one. It's the same with bigger challenges. A misunderstanding with a friend, or feeling overwhelmed by homework. Ignoring these things doesn't make them less real. It just gives them time to get stronger, to dig deeper roots. True strength isn't hoping things disappear. It's in the quiet courage to look at what's difficult, to clean that small cut, to have that honest conversation. There's a deep, quiet peace that comes from facing things, even when it feels hard. Knowing you're not just waiting for them to magically fix themselves, but taking a quiet step forward to make things better. And that's a truth worth holding on to. Thinking that money could buy everything important. Have you ever stopped to wonder if money can truly buy everything important? We see ads telling us money can solve all our problems. But here's the thing. For a long time, people made a big mistake. They believed money could buy happiness, respect, even true love. It's an easy trap. Money can get you a nice house, cool gadgets, and fun trips. Those are good, but they're often just things, moments that pass. They don't always touch our deepest selves. Many wealthy people, through history, found their fortunes didn't fill an inner emptiness. Ancient philosophers, like Seneca, wrote real wealth wasn't in stuff, but a calm mind. Even then, kings with all their gold were still lonely or sad. Think about a best friend. Can you buy loyalty? Can you buy someone who will always stand by you? No money can make someone genuinely care. Or consider your unique talent, like drawing, music, or sports. You can pay for lessons, sure, but the passion, the inner drive, that special spark comes from within. It's developed through hard work and heart, not bought. So, this era isn't just about money. It's misunderstanding what truly enriches life. It's looking past shiny things to life's deeper parts. The most meaningful feelings, kindness, courage, real laughter, a beautiful sunset, a hug from family. These are priceless. They can't be bought. They are only given, shared, or deeply felt. Recognizing this helps us search for the real treasures, the ones money can never touch. The mistake of shutting down new ideas. Have you ever had a truly different idea? Something cool you were scared to share? Maybe you worried others would just laugh, or say it was impossible. Here's the thing. History often shows us this. People have brilliant, fresh ideas, but others shut them down. They don't listen. They close their minds. Think about Galileo. For a long time, people believed the earth sat still, with the sun and stars moving around us. It seemed obvious. Then, Galileo looked closer. He suggested the earth actually revolved around the sun. This was a huge, shocking idea. Many powerful people felt threatened. They thought it was crazy, even dangerous. Galileo was put on trial for his beliefs. They tried to silence him. Imagine if they had succeeded. We would still be stuck with an older, less true understanding of our universe, just because people wouldn't consider a new thought. Here's another example. For ages, doctors didn't know why people got sick. They didn't believe in tiny, invisible germs. When Louis Pasteur suggested these tiny things caused disease, many doctors laughed. Invisible creatures. Don't be silly, they said. But Pasteur kept exploring. His ideas, once mocked, led to big discoveries. Now, we wash our hands, we have vaccines, all because someone kept pushing a new idea. Even when others tried to shut it down, And that's the quiet sadness of ignoring new ideas. Every time we dismiss something new without thinking, we might miss out. We could be closing a door to an amazing invention, a solution to a big problem, or just a better way to understand our world. It takes courage to share a new idea, and even more to truly listen. But when we do, we make room for wonder, for progress, and for making life better. Let's try to keep our minds open, always. When truth was what the strongest said, imagine a world, long, long ago, where what was real wasn't decided by facts or proof. It wasn't about looking closely or testing ideas. Instead, the truth was simply whatever the most powerful person declared it to be. If a strong leader said the sky was green, then, for many, it simply was. Questioning the powerful could be dangerous. Think about it. Before science gave us ways to test things, before books were common, how did people decide what was true? It often came down to who had the biggest army, the loudest voice, or the crown. Their word became law, and their view became fact. This idea, where might makes right, shaped civilizations. It meant brilliant ideas could be silenced if they went against a powerful ruler's belief. Progress could stop. Here's an example. Picture a playground. One kid, the biggest, insists the only way to play tag is by hopping on one foot. Everyone else knows it's silly, but if they don't hop, the big kid might stop them from playing. So, for a while, hopping becomes the truth of how to play tag, even if it's not fair. This shows how power can bend what we accept as real, even when our inner voice tells us something different. This way of thinking, where power decided truth, held back humanity for centuries. Fear often replaced curiosity. It reminds us why it's so important today to always seek evidence, to ask questions, and to protect the freedom to speak our minds. Real truth isn't owned by anyone. It's something we discover together, with open eyes and brave hearts. The era of not questioning old ways. Have you ever wondered why we do things a certain way? Just because that's how it's always been done. It's a powerful pull. This idea of the past. Sometimes, we follow old paths without really asking if they still lead us where we need to go. This era of not questioning what's familiar has quietly shaped our world in profound ways. It can stop new ideas from ever even being born. For centuries, people believed the earth was flat. That was the old way of thinking. Few dared to question it openly. People even laughed at, or worse, punished those who suggested otherwise. But here's the thing, the world kept turning, round and round. It took brave minds, ones who looked at the stars and ships sailing over the horizon, to challenge that old idea. They did this even when it was scary. Or think about medicine. For ages, doctors used methods that actually made people sicker, like bloodletting. They believed it balanced the body. It was simply tradition, passed down for generations. It wasn't until people started asking hard questions, looking for evidence, that things truly changed for the better. Imagine your school has an old rule. Maybe everyone has to use a specific type of pen, even if other pens work better. No one remembers why the rule started. Maybe it made sense a long time ago, but now, it just causes small frustrations. Yet, everyone just keeps following it. Nobody asks, why? And that's the problem. That's quiet acceptance of old ways can feel safe. It's easier not to rock the boat. But history shows us that real growth, true understanding, often begins with a simple, brave question. Why? Or, is there another way? It's a whisper of curiosity that can echo through time, changing everything. This isn't about disrespecting the past. It's about remembering that the past is a starting point, not always the final answer. So, here's the thing. Always keep a little light of questioning inside you. It's how we find new truths, how we grow, and how we make the world a little clearer for everyone. Always moving forward. Believing that justice was always swift. Have you ever done something wrong, or seen someone else do something bad, and just wished for instant consequences? You know, like in a movie where the villain gets caught right after their evil deed. It's a powerful, deep human desire to believe that justice, that idea of things being made right, would always happen fast. We want to see fairness served immediately, like a quick clap of thunder after lightning. But here's the thing. History, and even our own lives, often teach us a different lesson. For a long time, people hoped that the universe, or some higher power, would make sure wrongs were quickly balanced. If someone lied, they'd trip. If someone cheated, they'd lose something important right away. This belief gave people comfort, a feeling that order was always protected. It made the world seem simpler, more predictable. And that's why it matters. Thinking justice is always swift can make us confused and frustrated when it isn single quotes. Think about a small seed you plant. You don't see a giant oak tree the next day, right? It takes seasons, years, for it to grow. Or imagine a new school rule that's truly good, but it takes months of meetings and discussions before it helps anyone. Justice can be like that. It's not always a sudden lightning bolt. Sometimes it's more like the slow, powerful movement of a glacier, carving its way through a valley. It moves, it changes things, but its progress is often so gradual you might not notice it day by day. It can feel heavy, sometimes even unfair, when we see bad things happen and the scales don't tip back to balance right away. That feeling, that ache of waiting for things to be set right, is a part of what it means to be human. It teaches us patience, yes, but it also shows us how complicated the world really is. Justice isn't just about what happens quickly, it's also about the long journey towards making things truly fair, even when that journey is slow and often unseen. And that's a tough, but important truth to understand. The idea that people are naturally evil. Have you ever looked around and wondered, deep down, what kind of creatures we humans really are? Are we born with kindness in our hearts? Or is there something darker, something selfish, waiting to take over? For a long time, some very smart people believed that inside every one of us, our true nature is, well, not so nice. They thought if you stripped away all the rules, schools, and parents, people would naturally be selfish, cruel, and even violent. One famous thinker, centuries ago, named Thomas Hobbes, imagined what life would be like without any government. He pictured it as a time where everyone fought only for themselves. He believed humans were driven by fear and a desire for power. He felt we needed strong rules and leaders to keep us from hurting each other and to make society work. Think about a playground. Sometimes, a child might grab a toy from another or push someone to get ahead. Is that their natural evil showing? Or is it simply a lack of understanding? Or not yet learning how to share and care? When we see a tiny baby crying until it gets what it needs, we don't call it evil. We call it helpless. Babies learn to share, to comfort, to love. They learn from the world around them, from the people who raise them. But here's the thing. History also shows us incredible acts of bravery, kindness, and self-sacrifice. People risking everything for strangers. We see empathy, that feeling of truly understanding what someone else feels from a very young age. So, is our true nature fixed, either good or bad? Or is it more like a garden, where what grows depends on what we plant, what we water, and what we choose to nurture? Maybe we have the power to choose which seeds will blossom, and maybe that choice is what truly defines us, not some preset idea of who we are. How focusing only on self led to loneliness. How focusing only on self led to loneliness. Have you ever felt truly alone, even in a crowd? It's a strange, quiet feeling. For ages, societies understood we're all threads in a bigger fabric. Our lives connect to family, friends, community. Ancient thinkers, like the Greek philosopher Aristotle, knew that humans are social animals. He believed we thrive when we share, when we look beyond just our own needs. Our happiness is often tied to the well-being of others. But then, a different kind of thinking grew. People started to put a huge spotlight on the individual. The idea became, my needs, my desires, my success, above all else. This sounds strong, like a path to power. But here's the thing. When everyone focuses only on their own light, the shared warmth of a community dies. We start seeing others not as friends, but as competition, or just tools to get what we want. Think about a sports team. If every player only cared about scoring goals themselves, ignoring passes, never cheering for teammates, what happens? The team falls apart. Everyone is isolated on the field, even in the same uniform. No one wins. When our world shrinks to just me, when we only think about ourselves, we push away the very connections that truly feed our souls. This isn't about blaming anyone. It's about understanding a mistake we made as a civilization. We thought complete independence was strength, but it often led to a deep, quiet emptiness inside. True strength comes from connection, from understanding we are parts of a whole, bigger than just ourselves. Our greatest joys come from giving, from sharing, from simply being there for someone. Our hearts truly open when they reach out, not when they close in. The lie that only one way was right. Of you ever felt like there's only one right way to do something, one way to solve a problem, or one path to happiness. For a long time, many people believed this deeply. They thought their beliefs, their gods, their traditions, their way of seeing the world, was the only true way. If you didn't see things their way, you were just wrong. This idea, that there's only one single truth, caused so much pain. It made people close off their hearts and minds. It led to arguments, conflicts, and sometimes, too much worse. Think how different cultures, for centuries, often saw their own ways as better, dismissing all others. This wasn't just small disagreements. It was a core belief that pushed people apart, stopping them from learning. They missed out on the wisdom, beauty, and strength that comes from different viewpoints. Don't imagine getting across a big park. There isn't just one paved path, right? Maybe a winding gravel trail, a shortcut through the grass, or a path along the river. Each way has different things to see, challenges, and charms. If you insist there's only one right path, maybe the one you always take, you'd miss out on so much. You might even get stuck if that only way gets blocked. In life, like in that park, there are often many good, honest ways to find your truth, to live well, to connect with what matters. This lie, that only one way is right, whispers to us to build walls, not bridges. It teaches us to judge, not to understand. But the world is too vast, too colorful, too full of human hearts, for just one single answer to fit everything. True strength comes from listening, from seeing different paths, and from accepting that beauty can blossom in many forms, not just the one we know best. It's a quiet courage to open your mind and heart to all the possibilities. Thinking that our problems were unique, have you ever felt completely alone in something you were going through? Like no one else in the entire world could possibly understand how sad you were, or how hard that math problem seemed, or why that friendship just broke apart. This feeling, that our struggles are one of a kind, is a really common human experience. But here's the thing, it's also a big mistake that has sometimes kept us stuck. For thousands of years, people have looked at their own lives and thought, my pain is new. What I'm going through has never happened before. Imagine early civilizations facing a scary illness or a long dry spell. They might have believed their suffering was a unique curse, not realizing that other groups across the mountains faced similar hardships. This kind of thinking makes us feel so isolated. It can stop us from seeking help or from learning from the past. When we truly believe our problems are entirely our own, we miss the comfort and wisdom that comes from knowing we're part of a much larger human story. It makes us feel like we have to figure everything out ourselves, from scratch. Every single time. Think about a moment when you felt really embarrassed. Maybe after saying something silly in class, or tripping in the hallway. For a second, it feels like everyone is judging you, and you're the only person who's ever made such a mistake. The heat rushes to your face, but then, if you stop and really think, you realize almost every single person in that room has probably felt that exact same wave of awkwardness before. It's a feeling almost everyone shares. This realization, that our unique pains are often echoes of countless others throughout history, can be incredibly freeing. It reminds us that humanity has faced countless trials, big and small, and often found ways through them. We're not charting entirely new territory with every struggle. Instead, we're walking a path worn by generations, a path where others have left their footprints and their lessons. There's a quiet strength in knowing that. It connects us, making our burdens feel a little lighter, and our search for answers a little less lonely. We find a deep calm in realizing we are not an island, but part of a flowing, powerful river of human experience. The mistake of not sharing knowledge. Have you ever wondered what amazing things we might know today, if only people hadn't kept their ideas secret? Imagine a world where the wisest minds held their best discoveries close, never writing them down, never speaking of them. This isn't just a sad thought, it's a deep error, one that has slowed down humanity again and again throughout history. When knowledge stays locked inside one person's mind, or within a small group, it's like a powerful light hidden under a basket. It can't help others see. For centuries, sometimes, important breakthroughs were treated like secret treasures. Ancient craftspeople, for example, often guarded their techniques fiercely. They feared others would steal their trade or their power. But here's the thing, when those craftspeople died, their special knowledge often died with them. Generations lost out on learning, on improving, on building on what came before. Think of how much faster science could have moved. How many diseases could have been cured sooner if every new finding was openly discussed and tested by everyone. It's like when you figure out a really good way to solve a tricky math problem. If you just keep that method to yourself, only you benefit. But if you show your friends, they might understand it too, and maybe even find a better, faster way to solve it, and then share that with you. Suddenly, everyone is smarter. Everyone can do more. That's how true progress happens in the real world. We build on each other's ideas, not just our own. This hiding of knowledge isn't always about being mean. Often it comes from fear, fear of losing power, or fear of being wrong. But what we lose is far greater. We lose the chance for collective wisdom, for the human family to grow together, to solve bigger problems. So, the lesson here is simple and profound. Our greatest strength often comes from opening our hands, from sharing the gifts of our minds, and trusting that together, we can light up the world more brightly than any single flame ever could. When art was censored by power, have you ever wondered what happens when beautiful art, full of deep meaning, is seen as a threat? It's a strange thought, isn't it? Art often holds our truest feelings, our biggest questions, and even our quiet protests. But throughout history, there have been times when powerful people, like rulers or religious leaders, decided certain art was too dangerous to be seen. This is called censorship. These leaders feared ideas. They worried that a painting, a song, or a play might make people think too much, or question the way things were. So, they would stop artists from sharing their work. Imagine if a brilliant artist spent years painting a scene that showed a deep injustice, only for someone in power to demand it be destroyed or hidden away forever. The feelings and truth in that artwork, meant to spark thought or even change, would be silenced. It's a bit like when you write a story from your heart, full of honest feelings about friendship or a problem you faced. Then, someone tells you to change the ending, or to remove a character, because they don't like the truth you wrote. They want your story to fit their idea of what's right, even if it loses its real meaning. When art is censored, humanity loses a piece of its own story, its own voice. But here's the thing, even when art is hidden, the human spirit that creates it doesn't just disappear. The longing to express, to question, to find beauty, always finds a way. Sometimes, the very act of censoring art actually highlights what was truly important and what was truly feared. It reminds us that art holds a unique kind of power, a power that even the strongest leaders have felt the need to try and control, and that's why it matters deeply. The error of believing in perfect answers. Have you ever wished there was one single, perfect answer for everything, one right way to live, or one absolute truth about how the world works? It's a natural feeling, wanting certainty, wanting to know you're doing things exactly right. But here's the thing. Believing in perfect final answers can actually be one of humanity's biggest mistakes. For a long time, many thinkers believed we could find ultimate, unchanging truths. They searched for the perfect form of government, or the perfect moral code that would apply to everyone, everywhere, forever. It's like imagining a puzzle with only one possible way all the pieces fit together, making one flawless picture. But human life, and even the universe, is far more complex than that. History shows us people holding on to these perfect ideas so tightly that they couldn't see anything else. Don't think about trying to figure out the perfect way to be a friend. Is there one rule that always works? One perfect thing to say when someone is sad? Or one perfect gift that makes everyone happy? Of course not. What makes one friendship strong might not work for another. What helps one person feel better might not help someone else. You try different things. You listen, you learn, and sometimes you get it wrong. And that's okay. That real wisdom often comes from knowing that some questions don't have one simple, final answer. It comes from being okay with not knowing everything, and from being willing to change your mind. Life isn't about finding the single perfect solution, but about asking better questions, exploring different paths, and understanding that truth can grow and change. It's a quiet acceptance that maybe the journey of searching is the most important part. Believing that everything has a simple cause. Have you ever felt like you just had to find one clear reason for something? Maybe why a friend was upset, or why a school project didn't go as planned. It's a natural feeling, wanting to point to one simple cause. Our brains often look for that quick, easy answer. It feels good to say, that's why. But here's the thing. Most of life, most of everything important, is rarely that simple. For a very long time, people often looked for single reasons. If crops failed, maybe an angry god was to blame. If someone was sick, a spirit might be the cause. This offered comfort, a simple story. As we learned more, we started seeing the bigger picture. We understood that many things work together to create an outcome. Think about why you might feel tired one day. Is it just that you stayed up late? Maybe, but it could also be what you ate, how stressed you are about a test, or even a change in the weather. No single button explains it. Or consider why a big historical event, like a war, started. It wasn't just one speech or one leader's choice. It was usually a tangled web of different countries' needs, old disagreements, fears, and changing beliefs, all building up over many years. It's harder to grasp, but closer to the truth, and that's why it matters. When we only look for one simple cause, we miss so much. We miss the hidden connections, the deeper feelings, the real forces that shape our world and ourselves. Accepting complexity takes patience, but doing so helps us see the world more clearly, and it helps us respond with more kindness and wisdom, understanding how many pieces are truly at play. The idea that we don't need others. Have you ever felt like you could handle everything on your own? That it would be easier just to do it yourself, without anyone else's help? It's a powerful feeling, wanting to be strong and independent, and that desire is good. But here's the thing, believing we never need others, that we're better off completely alone. That idea has caused so much quiet struggle in our history and our lives. For a long time, people have admired the lone wolf. You see it in old stories, even in movies. It looks brave, right? But deep down, humans are built for connection. We built entire cities, invented amazing things, and explored space, not alone, but by working together. Ancient thinkers understood society works best when everyone plays a part, relying on each other. Even wise philosophers, seeking inner peace, had friends and communities. Here's what I found. Imagine a single plant trying to grow a whole forest by itself. It doesn't make sense, does it? A tree needs soil, water, and sunlight, but it also needs the protection and support of other trees. The forest breathes as one. Or think about your own body. Your heart can't do its job without your lungs. Your brain needs every single part. They all depend on each other. It's the same for us, even when we feel our strongest. We need a friend to listen, a teacher to guide, a family member to support. When we pretend we don't, we carry heavy burdens alone that could be shared. Realizing we do need each other isn't a sign of weakness. It's a deep truth about being human. It means opening our hearts, accepting help, and offering it back. In that shared connection, we find our greatest strength and comfort. How taking without giving back caused trouble. Have you ever thought about what happens when a circle breaks? Imagine a friendship where one person always asks for favors, always needs help, but never offers anything in return. They take your time, your kindness, your energy, but when you need support, they are nowhere to be found. How does that make you feel? Pretty empty, right? That's kind of how a big philosophical error works, but on a much larger scale, and it has caused huge problems for us all. For a long time, some people, and even whole societies, believed they could just take and take. They took from the earth its rich soil, its clean water, its endless forests. They took from other people their labor, their resources, their freedom. It was like they saw the world as a giant piggy bank that would never run out, or a servant that would never complain. But here's the thing, nothing in this world works that way forever. Everything is connected, like an invisible web. When you pull too much from one thread, the whole web starts to unravel. Think about a small garden. You plant seeds, watch them grow, and then you harvest delicious vegetables. But what if you never put nutrients back into the soil? What if you never watered it or pulled the weeds? You just keep taking the food. Soon, the soil would become tired, dry, and unable to grow anything at all. The garden would die. This same idea applies to much bigger things. When we forget to give back, whether it's to the planet, to our communities, or even to our own bodies and minds, we create an imbalance. This error, this idea that we can endlessly consume without contributing, has left scars on our world. It has led to unfairness, scarcity, and a deep feeling of loss. It reminds us that true strength doesn't come from how much you can grab, but from understanding the delicate dance of giving and receiving. It's in that balance, in that quiet respect for what sustains us, that we truly thrive. The lie that learning stops when you get older. Have you ever heard someone say, "Oh, I'm too old to learn that now"? Or maybe you think once you graduate, learning is just over. Here's the thing, that idea that learning stops at a certain age is one of the biggest mistakes we make. It's like believing the sun won't rise tomorrow just because today is ending. But that's not how the world works, and it's certainly not how our minds work. For a long time, people thought of knowledge as something you collect, like coins in a jar. Once the jar was full, that was it. But history shows a different path. Think about ancient thinkers, like Socrates. He was an old man, still asking questions, still making people think deeply about life. He never stopped being curious. Or look at someone like Leonardo da Vinci, always sketching, inventing. Even in his later years, they understood the brain isn't a hard drive that gets full. It's more like a garden. Here's what I found. Our brains are amazing. They can actually change and grow throughout our entire lives. It's called neuroplasticity, a fancy word for saying your brain can always make new connections, always adapt. It's like if you decide to learn to play the guitar. At first, your fingers feel clumsy, and the notes sound bad. But if you keep trying, your fingers get smarter, the music sounds better. That's your brain physically changing, building new pathways. You're not too old for that at any age. Learning a new language, figuring out how to fix something, understanding a new scientific idea, it all keeps your brain active and strong. So, when we stop seeking new ideas, we're not just closing a book, we're closing off a part of ourselves. We miss out on discovering new joys, new skills, new ways to see the world. And that's why it matters. Our minds are built to keep growing, to keep wondering. To stop learning is to stop truly living, to miss the quiet magic of continuous discovery that makes us who we are. Curiosity is a flame meant to burn brightly forever. Thinking we're too small to make a difference. Have you ever looked up at the vast night sky, feeling like a speck of dust in the universe, or stood in a huge crowd, wondering if your voice could ever truly be heard? It's a natural feeling, that sense of being too small, too ordinary, to make any real mark on the world. But here's the thing, believing that thought, letting it take root, is one of the oldest and most damaging errors we make. This idea that one person's effort is pointless against big problems has stopped countless acts of courage and kindness. Think about it. What if Martin Luther King Jr. had decided his words were too small? Or if Malala Yousafzai thought her voice wasn't strong enough to speak for girls' education? History is full of people who started with just an idea, a single step, and changed everything. Philosophers have pondered how individual choices connect to the bigger picture. They understood that societies grow from the millions of tiny decisions we all make. Imagine a single vote in an election. Sounds tiny, right? But sometimes, elections are decided by just a handful of votes. Or think about a classroom project where everyone contributes just one small piece. Each piece might seem unimportant on its own, but together, they build something amazing. Your smile can change someone's difficult day. Your choice to pick up litter can inspire others. Each small act sends out a ripple dot. So, the error isn't that you are too small. It's believing that you are, and then acting as if it's true. Your presence here, your thoughts, your choices, they all have weight. Every breath you take, every word you speak, is part of the unfolding story of civilization. You are not a spectator. You are a vital thread in its fabric. Your power isn't in being loud, but in simply choosing to act, even when the act feels tiny. And that's why it matters.